Welcome to Byju's IAS. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible and visible? Good evening, Ankush. Am I audible and visible? Good evening, everyone. Brajneet, Ankush, Kriti. Am I audible and visible? Yeah, thank you, Sakshi. Ankush. Kriti, Simran, Brajneet. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Hello, Seema, Pallavi, Shivaganga. No, I have finished the Gupta period last class, isn't it? I have finished Gupta period last class, haven't I? Yeah, I finished the Gupta period last class. So today let us begin with post-Gupta period. So let's begin with post-Gupta period, the last chapter of ancient Indian history. So today I'll finish ancient India, and then we have a webinar at 8:30 on art and culture. We will do that. Now we'll come back here. Post-Gupta period. So we have looked at the reasons for the decline of the Gupta period, Gupta Empire, the repeated attacks of the Huns or the Hunas of Central Asia, the rise of feudatories and the decline of foreign trade undermined the Guptas. And the Gupta Empire collapsed like a pack of cards. After Skandagupta, we have weak rulers. They were not able to hold the Gupta Empire together. Neither were they able to repel the attack of the Hunas. So therefore, the Gupta Empire collapsed. And on the ruins of the Guptas, we have a number of small kingdoms which came into existence. We have the political fragmentation of North India. So North and Central India came to be politically fragmented. Guptas, as we have seen, brought most parts of North India under their control. But then once the Gupta Empire collapsed, small kingdoms arose on the ruins of the Guptas. Like, for example, the Vardhanas or the Pushyabhutis who ruled from Staneshwar in Haryana. Then we have the Maukharis who ruled from Kanauj. The Chandras of Bengal. The Chandras ruled from Bengal. We have the rule of Gaudas, Gauda Desha. Shashanka of Gauda ruled from Gauda Desha, that is Bengal. Then of course we have the later Guptas who ruled from Pataliputra. A branch of the Hunas ruled from Malwa as such. So we have the political fragmentation of North India. Small kingdoms came into existence on the ruins of the Gupta Empire. But the most important successor of the Guptas were the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. So in this chapter of post-Gupta period, we will be discussing about the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas, whose greatest ruler was Harshavardhana. So we'll talk about Harshavardhana and the Pushyabhutis. And of course, down south, we have two kingdoms which we have to discuss, the Pallavas of Kanchipuram and the Chalukyas of Badami. The Pallava-Chalukya conflict. So this chapter will be discussing about the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas, one of the successors of the Guptas, the most important among the successors of the Guptas, the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. And then also I'll be discussing about the Chalukya-Pallava conflict. The Chalukya-Pallava conflict. Right? So the post-Gupta period, let's understand 550 to 750 AD. So here, here on the ruins of the Gupta Empire, a number of independent kingdoms were born, creating disunity again in North India. So who are the important successors of the Guptas? On your screen, the Pushyabhutis, also called the Vardhanas, They ruled from Sthaneshwar in Haryana. Sthaneshwar was their capital in Haryana, and the greatest of the Pushyabhutis was Harshavardhana. Then we have the Maukharis who ruled over Kannauj in UP. Kannauj was their capital. The Maukharis ruled over Kannauj. The Maitrakas ruled over Gujarat. Vallabhi was their capital. The Maitrakas of Vallabhi. Kamarupa, that is the old name for Assam. So Assam or Kamarupa, the capital was Pragjotishpur. Then we have Gauda Desha. Gauda Desha is Bengal. Gauda is Bengal. Old name for Bengal is Gauda, Gauda Desh. And capital was Karna Suvarna. And this king of Gauda Desha, that is Shashanka. Shashanka was a Shaivite. He was a Shiva worshipper. He was the one who cut off the Bodhi tree under which Lord Buddha had attained Nirvana. So Lord Buddha had attained Nirvana at Gaya, or now what is called Bodha Gaya. So he cut off the Bodhi tree because he was a Shaivite and he was anti-Buddhist. Then we have the later Guptas who were unrelated to the Guptas. They ruled from Patliputra, that was their capital. So these are the important successors of the Guptas: the Pushyabhutis, the Mokharis, the Maitrakas, the Kamarupa, Gauda, later Guptas. And in down south we have two kingdoms: the Chalukyas of Badami, Badami in the Bagalkot district of Karnataka. So the Chalukyas of Badami and the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. The Pallavas of Kanchipuram. So these two kingdoms kept on fighting against each other. So we will discuss about that once we finish with the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. Right? So you on your screen you see the political fragmentation of North India post the Gupta decline. Once the Gupta Empire declined, we have small kingdoms coming into existence in North India. For example, you can see here, Sthaneshwar was the capital of the Vardhanas. You have the Maukaris ruling over Kannauj in UP. The Gauda Desha is Bengal, Gauda, mind the spelling, Gauda, old name of Bengal. Then, of course, you have Kamarupa, that is Assam. Then we have the Maitrakas ruling over Gujarat. Vallabhi was their capital. So these are the important kingdoms in North India. And of course, down south, we have the Chalukyas of Badami and the Pallavas of Kanchipuram, who kept on fighting against each other. Right? I don't know the timetable, Garima Tyagi. I don't know the timetable, so therefore I'll not be able to tell you that. Yeah, medieval India will start. Yes. From tomorrow, medieval India classes will start. Yes, that is true. I would have started today itself. Let us see. I would have wanted to give you an overview, but then we have a webinar at 8:30. So I would want to give a small gap between the class and the webinar. Let's see. Yeah, Mega. Yeah, I spoken about the extreme forms of Shaiva sects, like Pashupata, Kalamukha, Goraknathis, Aghoris, Kanfata yogis, etc. So these were some of the important Shaiva sects, extreme forms of Shaiva sects. And then we have the moderate Shaiva sects, the Pratyabhigna school, etc. So that will be uploaded. Just hold on. Don't worry. We'll have a webinar at 8:30. It has been scheduled at 8:30 today. So we'll come back here. Just focus on the class now, students. So Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. Now, among the successors of the Guptas, the most important are the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. So let me tell you the story of the Vardhanas or the Pushyabhutis. Yeah, then I'll come and discuss the BPTs. So we have the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. Lagima, when I come to Buddhism as part of art and culture, I will tell you the reasons for Buddha being made an avatar of Vishnu. Okay, when I discuss the decline of Buddhism, one of the reasons for the decline of Buddhism is that. So out of context, I'll not be able to do it. I will do it when I come to decline of Buddhism as part of art and culture. When I do Buddhism topic in detail, I'll do. Okay, we'll come back here. The Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas, also called the Vardhanas. Now, the founder of this dynasty, the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhana dynasty, was Maharaja Pushyabhuti. Maharaja Pushyabhuti. He was the founder of this dynasty. Listen to the story now of the Vardhanas or the Pushyabhutis, and then we'll discuss the PPTs. Okay. Founder was Maharaja Pushyabhuti. Then we come to the first important king, Prabhakara Vardhana. So the first important king was Prabhakara Vardhana. And what was the capital of the Pushyabhutis? Thaneshwar. Thaneshwar in Haryana. It is located in present day Haryana, or Sthaneshwar as it is called, Sthaneshwar in Haryana. That was their capital. So the first important king of this dynasty was Prabhakara Vardhana. He had 3 children. So he had three children. Rajyavardhana. He was Rajyavardhana, then Harshavardhana, and a daughter called Rajashri. And this Rajashri, the daughter of Prabhakara Vardhana, was given in marriage to the Mokhari ruler of Kanauj by name Grahavarman. So we have Rajashri married to a person called Grahavarman, king of Grahavarman, the king of Kanauj in UP. And he belonged to the Mokhari dynasty. On your screen, you see here, all of you, look at this. Where can you locate the Mokharis? This is the Mokhari kingdom, and Kanauj was their capital. Do you see it, all of you? Yeah. So that is the Mokharis, neighbors of the Pushyabhutis. Gunjan, I'll come to your question later. Let me focus on the topic at hand. Okay, let me not digress. Let me finish this, and then we'll look at your doubts. So ask me at the end of ancient India, right? So we'll come back here. So here the neighbors of the Pushyabhutis or Vardhanas were the Mokharis, and the king of the Mokharis was Grahavarman, married to Rajashri, the daughter of Prabhakara Vardhana. Now what happened is, Prabhakara Vardhana died. Understand this? Prabhakara Vardhana died. So when he died, according to the law of primogeniture, so Rajyavardhana was the eldest son of Prabhakara Vardhana. He was the eldest. So by the law of primogeniture, he becomes the next king. Rajyavardhana becomes the next king. Rajyavardhana becomes the next king. Now, around this time, when Rajyavardhana was the king of the Pushyabhutis, we have 2 enemies of Pushyabhutis as well as the Mokharis. 2 enemies. That is Sasanka of Gauda. Understand this? Sasanka of Gauda Desh, that is Bengal. So try to remember the old names of these modern states. So Gauda Desh is Bengal. So the king of Gauda, Sasanka, and Devagupta of Malwa. Devagupta, the king of Malwa. Malwa in Madhya Pradesh. These 2 people joined together. Sasanka and Devagupta joined together. They attacked Kanauj. Okay. Killed Grahavarman. They killed Grahavarman and conquered Kanauj. And they imprisoned Rajashri. So Rajashri, the queen, was imprisoned. Now, this resulted in Rajavardhana becoming very distraught. He was inconsolable. Recently, he had lost his father, Prabhakara Vardhana, and then he has lost his brother-in-law, Grahavarman, and his sister is in the hands of the enemies, a prisoner in the hands of the enemies. So we are told that he began to stop eating food, drink water, or sleep. Rajavardhana was distraught. And then we have the Pradhana Samantas, the main Samantas, the Pradhana Samantas. Samanta means feudatories. The main Samantas, they advised Rajavardhana. They told him, "You are the king, and if you lose hope, what would be the impact on the people? So you are the king, and therefore you should lead from the front. Be bold and do whatever is necessary at this point in time." So they counseled him, they spoke to him, and they encouraged him. And thereupon, Rajavardhana, he decided to conquer Kanauj and teach the enemies of the Pushyabhutis and the Vardhanas LSM, the Pushyabhutis and the Maukharis LSM. So Rajyavardhana attacked Kanauj. Understand this? He attacks Kanauj. He attacks Kanauj. Right? He attacks Kanauj. And Rajyavardhana managed to kill Devagupta. So Rajyavardhana killed Devagupta. But then deceitfully, by cheating, Sasanka was able to kill Rajyavardhana. Sasanka killed Rajyavardhana. Did you understand? So Rajyavardhana attacked Kanauj. He managed to kill Devagupta. So Rajyavardhana killed Devagupta of Malwa. But deceitfully, that is by cheating, Sasanka was able to kill Rajyavardhana. Sasanka killed Rajyavardhana. And these are the circumstances which brought young Harsha to power at Staneshwar. Harsha was just 16 years old. Harsha was just 16 years old when he comes to power at Staneshwar. Did you understand? Are you clear till here? All of you, can you raise your hands? Can I continue the story? Okay, great. So here, these are the circumstances which brought young Harsha to power. He was just 16 years old. So what did he do? So 16-year-old boy, a teenager, but then a person with great capacity. So Harshavardhana is supposed to have sent search parties. As soon as he came to power, he sent search parties to locate his sister. I believe Rajashri had escaped into the forests of central India. Somehow she managed to escape from a jail at Kannauj, and she was roaming in the forests of Central Asia. So search parties were sent to locate his sister. And simultaneously, Harshavardhana took his army and attacks Kannauj. So Harsha comes to power here. And what did he do? He attacked Kannauj. And he managed to defeat Shashanka. So Harsha defeated Shashanka. He was not able to kill him. He defeated Shashanka and he drove away Shashanka from Kannauj and conquered Kannauj. So Harshavardhana conquers Kannauj. And in the very first year of his reign, he makes Kannauj his capital. So he shifts the capital from Staneshwar to Kannauj. So Kannauj became the capital of Harshavardhana, right? And meanwhile, his sister was also located by the search parties, and they brought her safely back to Kannauj. And within a short period of time, Harsha brought most parts of North India under his control. Bihar, Bengal, Orissa, Assam, parts of UP, Rajasthan, Delhi, all those areas were conquered by him. And he brought most parts of North India under his control. And Harsha took the title Shiladitya. Harsha takes the title of Shiladitya. Harsha Shiladitya. And Harshavardhana is considered to be the last great emperor of ancient India. Harsha is considered to be the last great emperor of ancient India. So he brought most parts of North India under his control. Now, Harsha, how do we come to know about Harsha? We come to know about Harsha from two people. One is Bana Bhatta. So Bana was the court poet of Harsha. He was the court poet of Harsha, Bana. And Bana wrote 3 poems. He wrote 3 poems. What are the 3 poems written by Bana? 3 poems he writes. Number 1, or kavyas as it is called, 3 kavyas or poems. Number 1, Harsha Charita. This is the biography of Harsha. Harsha Charita. This is the biography of Harsha. Then number 2, Kadambari. They're all written in Sanskrit language, mind you. So Harshacharita, Kadambari, and number 3, Parvati Parinay. Parvati Parinay. Harshacharita, Priyanka, Harshacharita, Kadambari, and Parvati Parinaya. So these are the 3 kavyas written by him. And Bana tells us that Harsha was not only a great conqueror, but also he was a scholar king. He was a scholarly king. And Harsha wrote 3 dramas. Harshavardhana wrote 3 dramas. What are the 3 dramas written by him? Or natakas? 3 natakas written by him. Number 1, Ratnavali, Nagananda, and Priyadarshika. Ratnavali, Nagananda, and Priyadarshika. These are 3 dramas written by Harshavardhana. Now, during the time of Harshavardhana, we have the second Chinese traveler who came to India, Hunsang. Hunsang was the second Chinese traveler to come to India. So the main source of information for the study of Harshavardhana is Bana Bhatta, Bana, the court poet of Harsha, and Hunsang. So why did Hunsang come to India? He was in India between 630 and 644 AD. He was there in India for about 14 years. He came to visit the land of the Buddha and collect Buddhist manuscripts, collect Buddhist holy books. And he came by the land route and went back by the land route. You remember Fahian, when we spoke about Gupta period last class, I told you Fahian came by the land route and went back by the sea route. Yeah, very right, very right. Went back by the sea route. But Hunsang came by the land route and went back by the land route. And Hunsang had so much of influence on Harsha. Understand this? Hunsang influenced Harsha so much that Harsha, who was a Shaivite, so initially Harsha was a Shaivite, that is, worshipper of Shiva. So he was a Shaivite or worshipper of Shiva. Because of the influence of Hunsang over Harsha, Harsha converted himself to Mahayana Buddhism. He became an ardent follower of Mahayana form of Buddhism, under which Buddha is worshipped in the form of idols. So, Harshitarita, Kadambari, Parvati Parinaya. Harshitarita, biography of Harsha, Kadambari, and Parvati Parinaya. Hari, your question is not very clear. Hari, yeah? Harshitarita, Kadambari, Parvati Parinaya. Okay, so Harshitarita, Kadambari, and Parvati Parinaya. We'll come back here. So Harsha was converted to Mahayana Buddhism by Hunsang. And Hunsang is also the person who gives a lot of information about Harsha. So Hunsang tells us, understand this, Hunsang tells us that once in 5 years, understand this, once in 5 years, that is quinquennially. Quinquennially means once in 5 years. Once in 5 years, Harsha used to organize a grand conference at Prayag. So at Prayag, there is to be a grand conference at Prayag, which is now, or earlier called Allahabad. So at Prayag, he used to organize a grand conference called Mahamoksha Parishad. Mahamoksha Parishad. This was organized once in 5 years, quinquennially. And we are told that in this Mahamoksha Parishad conference, Harsha, it was attended by a number of Buddhist monks, Jain monks, Brahmanas, the poor and the destitute. So thousands and lakhs of people used to congregate at this Mahamoksha Parishad. And we are told by Hunsang that Harsha used to donate all his wealth away. In this Mahamoksha Parishad, he used to give away all his wealth to the poor and the needy. to the Brahmana monks, to the Buddhist monks, to the Jain monks, etc., and including whatever jewels he had on his body, including the jewels, the finger ring, the necklaces, etc. And he came back with just a pair of clothes to the palace. He came back to the palace with just a pair of clothes. So this is what Yunsang tells us. Then Yunsang also tells us that in about 643 AD, he organized a conference at Kanauj. This is called Kanauj Mahasabha. Kanauj Mahasabha. So Harsha organized a grand conference at Kanauj called Kanauj Mahasabha, and the president of this conference was Yunsang himself. Yunsang was made the president of this conference. Right. Now, Harsha was a very welfare-oriented monarch. So he was a welfare-oriented monarch. He constructed hospitals. We are told he constructed hospitals. He constructed dharmashalas to the poor and the needy. So he constructed hospitals, dharmashalas, and also he, what is important about Harsha's period is the important events are recorded beautifully by officers. So certain officers were appointed to record all the important events of his reign, both good and bad events. So that is called Nilapithu, the archives of Harsha. I'll use another page. The archives of Harsha. Archives of Harsha is called Nilopitu. What is Nilopitu? That is important events during his reign. Important events, both good and bad. Both good and bad were recorded. Both good and bad events were recorded by officers who were specifically appointed for that purpose, and that is called Nilopitu. Right. Now, after having conquered North India, understand this. After having conquered North India, we are told by Yunsang and Bana that Harsha decided to conquer South India. Understand this? After having conquered most parts of North India, Harsha decided to conquer the south. And probably he wanted to ape or copy the Mauryas. Mauryas, as you know, they ruled almost the whole of India, isn't it? So probably he wanted to copy the Mauryas. And we are told by Yunsang and Bana, his court poet, that he made elaborate preparations to attack the south. So he got his army prepared. He himself prepared physically, mentally, in all respects. And then having adequately prepared himself, Harsha attacks the south. Harsha attacks South India. Now, there was a kingdom here in South India, in the region of present-day Karnataka. These are the Chalukyas of Badami. Chalukyas of Badami. So Badami is in the present-day Bagalkot district of Karnataka. So there's a district called Bagalkot district in Karnataka. So it is located here in the Bagalkot district of Karnataka. The capital of the Chalukyas, Badami. And who was the king of the Chalukyas at that point in time? Pulakeshi II. Pulakesi II. He was the king of the Chalukyas, and he is considered to be the greatest of the Chalukyas of Badami, Pulakeshi II. On the banks of the Narmada, so we are not very sure where the battle took place, but most of the historians say that it happened on the banks of the Narmada. Right. So a very powerful army of Harsha attacked South India, and we have Pulakeshi equally up to the task. So on the banks of the Narmada, there was a fierce battle was fought between Harsha and Pulakeshi. Initially, it seemed that Harsha was winning. Initially, he was winning, but the tables were turned by Pulakeshi, and slowly he was able to push the army of Harsha back to the side of Narmada, to the other side of Narmada. So he prevented Harsha from conquering South India. In other words, Pulakeshi was able to defeat Harsha. And we are told, how do we know this? We have the court poet of Pulakeshi, Ravikirti. So Ravikirti was the court poet of Pulakeshi, Ravikirti. And Ravikirti, in his Aihole inscription, we have an inscription called Aihole inscription. Aihole is a place in the Chalukyan kingdom. Aihole. It is considered to be the cultural center of the Chalukyas. There are more than 70 temples at Aihole. So this Aihole inscription was written by Ravikirti. In the Aihole inscription, we are told, understand this, we are told by Pulakeshi or by Ravikirti. Ravikirti tells us that my master, that is Pulakeshi II, was able to defeat the Sakala Uttara Padishwara, Harshavardhana. So he calls Harsha as Sakala Uttara Padishwara. He says, again I repeat, in the Aihole inscription issued by Ravikirti or written by Ravikirti, Ravikirti tells us that his master, that is Pulakesha II, defeated the Sakala Uttara Padishwara. Defeated the Sakalottara Patishwara Harshavardhana. So this was the title taken by Harsha. Harsha had called himself the Lord of North India. Harsha had called himself as the Lord of North India. Sakala Uttara Padishwara. Sakala, that means entire. Sakala, understand this. Sakala means entire. Sakalottara. Sakala means entire. Okay, entire. Uttara, as you know, is north. Patishwara is Lord. The Lord of North India. So that was a title taken by Harsha. After defeating Harsha, Pulakeshi takes a title. He takes the title Parameshwara. He takes the title of Parameshwara or Dakshina Pateshwara, the Lord of South India. Dakshina Pateshwara. That is the title taken by Pulakeshi II after having defeated Harsha. So Harsha, did you understand? And Narmada became the boundary line. Narmada became the boundary line between Pulakeshi and Harshavardhana. So Harsha's dream of conquering South India remained a dream. In fact, Ravikirti in his Aihole inscription also tells us that my master spoiled the Harsha of Harsha. My master, Pulakesha II, spoiled the Harsha of Harshavardhana. Harsha means happiness. Harsha means happiness. Harsha Ullas, it's a Sanskrit word, Harsha Ullas. So Harsha means happiness. So my master spoiled the happiness of Harsha. So Ravikirti also says that in the Aihole inscription. In the year 647, Harsha died. Harsha died in 647. We do not have much information about the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas after the death of Harsha. What happened, we don't know. What we do know is a person called Arunaswa. A person called Arunaswa was ruling the kingdom of Harsha after the death of Harsha. Arunaswa is also called Arjuna Varma. Arjuna Varma. Now, who this Arjuna Varma, we don't know. Who this Arjuna Varma was, we don't know. Probably one of the ministers under Harsha. He's supposed to have set aside the children of Harsha, the successors of Harsha, and he was ruling the kingdom. We have a Chinese visitor to the court of Harsha at this point in time. His name was Wang Yuanse. Wang Yuanse. He was the general of the Chinese emperor of the Tang dynasty. So if we have the Tang dynasty, which was ruling China at this point in time, and it is presumed that Harsha had good diplomatic relations with the Tang emperor. So the Tang emperor sent one of his generals called Wang Yuanse to the court of Harsha. When Wang Yuanse came to the court of Harsha, he was shocked to see not Harsha, but somebody else was on his throne. Not Harsha or any of Harsha's successors, but a person called Arunaswa was on the throne of Harsha. So this resulted in a war between Wang Yuanse and Arunaswa. Wang Yuanze is supposed to have fought against Arunasva, defeated Arunasva, and he placed the successor of Harsha, uh, the sons of Harsha, on the throne of his kingdom, on the throne of Harsha. But another Chinese traveler who came to India between 675 and 685 AD by name Itzing. Itzing is the fourth Chinese traveler to come to India. So Itzing, who came to India between 675 and 85 AD, 675 and 685 AD, doesn't make any mention of the successors of Harsha. So here, therefore, the history of the Vardhanas or the Pushyabhutis after Harsha is not very clear. Now, what we do know is in the early part of the 8th century, early 800 AD, what we do know is that Kanauj was ruled by Yashovarman. Yashovarman was the king of Kanauj. He was ruling over Kanauj, Yashovarman. And Yashovarman is the person who is supposed to have conquered Gauda Desh. Gauda is the old name for Bengal. So we have a book called Gauda Vaho, written by Vakpati. So Vakpati was one of the scholars in his court who wrote Gauda Vaho, the conquest of Gauda Desh by Yashovarman. So Yashovarman was ruling Kanauj in the early part of the 8th century AD. And also he patronized a scholar called Bhavabhuti. Bhavabhuti was also in his court, who wrote Malati Madhava, Uttara Ramacharita, etc. And we have the rock cut temple at Masroor in Himachal Pradesh. The rock cut temple at Masroor. Masroor is in Himachal Pradesh. These rock cut temples are at the time of Yashovarman. So he was a patron of art and architecture. This Yashovarman, during whose period we have the rock cut temples of Masroor in Himachal Pradesh constructed. This is about Harshavardhana. Are you there with me? Yeah, Kangra district. It is in the Kangra district of Himachal Pradesh. Pari, you're right. Yeah, I said Wang Yutze, Sharmi. What I'm saying is Wang Yutze was a Chinese general sent by the Tang Emperor of China. And presumably Harsha had good diplomatic relations with the Chinese emperor. So when Wang Yutze came to the court of Harsha, he was surprised and shocked to see that Harsha had died, and Harsha's lawful successors were not on the throne. Somebody else called Arunasva was sitting on the throne of Harsha. This resulted in Wang Yutze fighting against Arunasva, defeating Arunasva, and replacing Arunasva with the legal successors of Harsha. But another Chinese traveler who came to India between 675 and 685 AD by name Itzing doesn't make any mention of the successors of Harsha. Got it? So therefore, the history of the Pushyabhutis after Harshavardhana is not very clear. So we don't know what dynasty he belonged to. Ankush, we do know that Yashovarman succeeded to the throne at Kanauj after. He was ruling Kanauj in the early part of the 8th century AD. Okay, so history is not very clear after the death of Harsha. Clear? So this is about Harshavardhana. Let us discuss the PPTs on your screen. So among the successors of the Guptas, the most important are the Pushyabhutis or the Vardhanas. Founder was Maharaja Pushyabhuti, who took the title of Maharaja. He was a vassal probably of the Guptas. Then the first important king or independent king was Pravakara Vardhana. He had 2 sons and a daughter, I told you on your screen. So Pravakara Vardhana had 2 sons and a daughter, Rajyavardhana, eldest son, Harshavardhana, the second son, and Rajashri. And this Rajashri was given in marriage to Grahavarman, the king of Kanauj, the Maukhari ruler of Kanauj. So he was ruling over the Kanauj. He belonged to the Maukhari dynasty. So once Pravakara Vardhana died, Rajyavardhana became the king. So Rajyavardhana became the king, and we have 2 enemies of the Vardhanas and the Maukharis, that is Sasanka of Gauda, the Bengal, and Devagupta of Malwa. They joined together defeated and killed Grahavarman and imprisoned Rajashri and occupied Kannauj. Rajavardhana, who went to save his sister and brother-in-law, in turn killed Devagupta, but deceitfully was killed by Shashanka. So Rajavardhana lost his life at the hands of Shashanka. And this brought Harshavardhana to power at Staneshwar. So he succeeded his brother at Staneshwar, Harshavardhana. He ruled from 606 to 647. Greatest of the dynasty. Title is Rajaputra Shiladitya. So he occupied Kannauj. He drove away Shashanka from Kannauj, Gauda from Kannauj, and occupied Kannauj. Shifted the capital from Staneshwar to Kannauj in the very first year of his reign. He also defeated the king of Vallabhi, Dhruvasena II. Dhruvasena II of Vallabhi, that is Gujarat, was defeated by Harsha. Then he brought most parts of North India under his control, like Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Assam, Gujarat, etc. Hyun Sang visited his kingdom. So this Hyun Sang was the second Chinese traveler. He came to India. He was in India between 630 and 644, and he writes a book called Siyuki. Right, and because of the influence of Hyun Sang on Harsha, Harsha renounced Shaivism and embraced Mahayana Buddhism. So these are the coins of Harsha, as you can see on your screen. This is the Empire of Harsha, again on your screen. The map you can see in pink. These are the conquests of Harshavardhana. So he brought most parts of North India under his control. And Hyun Sang, the second Chinese traveler to come to India. So you can see the orange color line. That is the route he took to come to India. So this is the route he took to come to India. And the blue color line is the return journey of Hyun Sang. He will return to India like that. So he came by the land route and returned to India by the returned to China by the land route again. And he traveled extensively. He visited Harsha's court. He also visited the Chalukya court of Pulakeshi. He also comes to Tamil Nadu and visited the court of the Pallava king Narasimhavarman I. So he traveled extensively. Hyun Sang. So then we have Harsha's about Harsha. Information is given by Bana, his court poet, and also Hyun Sang. So Bana Bhatta wrote 3 poems: Harsha Charita, Parvati Parinaya, and Kadambari. And Harsha himself was a scholarly king. He wrote 3 dramas: Ratnavali, Nagananda, and Priyadarshika. So remember these names. So we have 2 inscriptions which talk about the chronology of Harsha. The Madhuban plate inscription. Madhuban plate is in Uttar Pradesh. And the Sonpat inscription. Sonpat is in Haryana. Sonipat as it is called. So Madhuban plate inscription in UP and Sonpat inscription talks about the chronology of Harsha. The Banskera inscription also contains the signatures of Harsha. So Banskera is again in UP. So they contain the signature of Harsha. And Harsha was a very welfare-oriented monarch. He built a number of hospitals, dharmashalas, etc. Then he organized a charitable program called Mahamoksha Parishad, once in 5 years. Mahamoksha Parishad at Prayag. And he donated all his wealth in this particular Mahamoksha Parishad, which was held once in 5 years, quinquennially at Prayag. He also conducted the Kannauj Mahasabha, which was presided over by Hyun Sang. Then Harsha's desire to conquer South India was spoiled by the Badami Chalukya king, Pulakeshi II. So in the Battle of Narmada, we have the Aihole inscription written by Ravi Kirti, which tells us that Pulakeshi defeated the Sakalottara Patishwara Harshavardhana in the Battle of Narmada. And River Narmada became the boundary between these 2 kingdoms, these 2 kings. Harsha also had good relations, cordial relations with the king of Assam, Bhaskara Varman. Maintenance of public records, I told you, was very nicely maintained during his period. Important events were recorded, both good and bad, and that is called Nilapitu. The archives of Harsha period are called Nilapitu. Harsha died in 647 AD. Mahamoksha Parishad once in 5 years, Pari, once in 5 years, quinquennially. Quinquennially means once in 5 years. Hello, Pari, did you understand? Once in 5 years, quinquennially. 5 साल में एक बार. Okay. Clear? Am I audible and visible? No network issue? Sharmi? Okay, great. Yeah, post Harsha period, I told you, not much information is available about the Pushyabhutis after the death of Harsha. So we are told that Arunasva, an officer called Arunasva, was ruling the Pushyabhuti kingdom after Harsha. And when a Chinese general came, Wang Yuanse came to visit Harsha, he was surprised to see Arunasva ruling in the place of Harsha. So we have a war which takes place between Arunasva and Wang Yutze, and Wang Yutze defeated Arunasva and replaced Arunasva with the successors of Harsha. But another Chinese general who came after Wang Yutze by name Yitzing, he doesn't provide any information about the successors of Harsha. Clear? Devat Nipari, did you understand? Very simple. So not much information is there about the post-Harsha period. But then what we do know is in the early 8th century, Yashovarman was ruling over Kannauj, and he wrote a drama called Ramabhyudaya. He patronized scholars like Bhavabhuti and Vakpati. So Bhavabhuti wrote all these books, Malati Madhava, Mahavira Charitra, Uttara Rama Charita. And Vakpati wrote Gaudabaho, the conquest of Gaudadesh, that is Bengal by Yashovarman. Right? And we have the famous rock cut temple of Masroor in Kangra Valley, Himachal Pradesh. This was constructed during the time of Yashovarman. This is about Harsha. No. Ankush, Arunasva was a minister probably who had usurped the throne of Harsha from the successors, from the legal heirs of Harsha. Right? So Arunasva was sitting and ruling on the throne of Harsha, and that resulted in Wang Yutze defeating him. This is about Harsha. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? So this is about Harshavardhana. Then let us talk about Pallava Chalukya conflict. Clear? Can I move on, all of you? Can we discuss this Pallava Chalukya conflict? Okay, now understand this. So we have the Pallava Chalukya conflict. So don't take my map seriously, but then let us talk about the Pallava Chalukya conflict. So let me make you understand this. What is the reason as to why the Pallavas or the Chalukyas kept on fighting against each other? And how geography determined history in this case, in their case. So this is the kingdom of the Chalukyas of Badami. And these are the Pallavas. Pallavas. These are the Pallavas. Okay. So here, these are the Chalukyas. And these are the Pallavas. Now, what was the reason? Understand this. What was the reason as to why the Chalukyas and the Pallavas were always fighting against each other? They kept on fighting against each other. What is the reason for that? That's what we need to understand. This is called Pallava Chalukya conflict. Now, you see, the Chalukyas were a plateau kingdom. Understand this? They were a plateau kingdom. So they ruled the Deccan Plateau. No, their kingdom was in the Deccan Plateau, and therefore it was also in a semi-arid zone. Semi-arid zone. Not much of rainfall. So what type of crops were grown by the Chalukyan farmers? Dry crops like ragi, jowar, bajra, etc. And they were also a landlocked kingdom. They were a landlocked kingdom. That is, they had no access to the ocean. They were landlocked. So, since they grew dry crops, and that too mostly one crop in a year, maybe here and there they might have been growing two crops, but mostly it was dry crops once a year. Now, the main source of income for a king in ancient India, from ancient India, is land revenue. The main source of income for a king is land revenue. Right? So the amount of revenue, land revenue, coming to the accruing to the Chalukyan king was very, very limited. As you can understand, they ruled over a semi-arid zone, a plateau area, not much of rainfall, mostly growing dry crops, and once a year they will grow crops. So therefore, very limited resources coming from land in the form of land revenue. Okay, so here they were a plateau kingdom, limited with limited resources, whereas the Pallavas were a coastal kingdom. They were a coastal kingdom. So they had very fertile deltas, 2-3 deltas in their kingdom, and they could grow 2 to 3 crops in a year. And since they had access to the ocean, since the Pallavas, they were a coastal kingdom, they had access to the ocean. Therefore, a lot of international trade took place via the Bay of Bengal with many of the Southeast Asian countries, including China, including Sri Lanka, etc. So a lot of trade took place. So the Pallavan king not only could collect land revenue, but also he collected custom duties from the traders and merchants. He collected custom duties from the merchants and traders. So a lot of wealth was flowing into the Pallavan treasury. And so they were a very prosperous kingdom. The Pallavas were very, very prosperous because of this reason. Are you clear? Tell me, all of you, are you clear? Can you raise your hands? Clear till here, all of you? Okay, now, so the Pallavas were a very prosperous kingdom, lot of wealth with them because of the geography over which they ruled, geographical region over which they ruled, whereas the Chalukyas were not so prosperous because of, again, the geographical region over which they ruled. Now, between these two economically contrasting kingdoms, there was a fertile belt of land. There was a very fertile belt of land. This is the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. This is the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Or what is called the Raichur Doab. This is called the Raichur Doab, the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. And the Chalukyas were desperate. The Chalukyas were desperate to control this area. Why they were desperate to control this area? Because they had limited resources, and the Chalukyas felt that if they bring the Krishna Tungabhadra basin under their control, their plight will be better off. They'll be better off. They'll have more resources with them. And the Pallavas also felt likewise. Why should they give away the Raichur Doab to the Chalukyas? So they also felt like having control over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. So the Krishna Tungabhadra basin became the bone of contention between the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. So they kept on fighting against each other. Did you understand? They kept on fighting against each other to establish the dominance over the Raichur Doab or the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. It was the Chalukyas who were responsible for starting this war with the Pallavas. How it happened, I'll tell you later. It was the Chalukyas who began this war. It became a dynastic war. Between the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. Now, constant war, as you can understand, when you keep on fighting, it will result in loss of men and material resources. So, constant war between these two kingdoms weakened both of them. And they lost their vitality. They lost their strength. As a result, they collapsed. We have weak successors, and then that resulted in the kingdoms collapsing. So Chalukyas became weak, and they were succeeded by the Chalukyas were succeeded by the Rashtrakutas. Understand this? So we have the Rashtrakutas succeeding the Chalukyas. Rashtrakutas succeeded the Chalukyas of Badami. The Pallavas also became weak, because of constant fighting. And the Pallavas were succeeded by the Cholas. So Rashtrakutas and Cholas fought against each other, again over this area, over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Rashtrakutas and Cholas fought. Constant warfare between the Rashtrakutas and the Cholas also weakened both of them. Okay, it weakened both of them, and then the Rashtrakuta kingdom collapsed. It became weak and collapsed. The Rashtrakutas were succeeded by the Kalyana Chalukyas. They had Basava Kalyan. Kalyana is Basava, identified with Basava Kalyan in the Bidar district of Karnataka. That's why they called Kalyana Chalukyas, Basava Kalyan, in the Bidar district of Karnataka. That was their capital, Basava Kalyan, or Kalyani as it was called during those days. So the Rashtrakutas were succeeded by the Kalyana Chalukyas. The Kalyana Chalukyas fought against the Cholas. Then the Cholas were succeeded by the Pandyas. And the Kalyana Chalukya kingdom also became weak. And it split up into three parts. The Kalyana Chalukya kingdom split up into three parts. We have the Yadavas. The Yadavas who ruled from Devagiri in Maharashtra. Yadavas of Devagiri. Then we have the Yadavas are also called the Seonas. The Seonas or the Yadavas of Devagiri. Then we have the Hoysalas. The Hoysalas and the Kakatiyas. So the Kalyana Chalukya kingdom got divided between the Seonas or the Yadavas, the Hoysalas, and the Kakatiyas. Right? And finally, you have in medieval times, in medieval times, Vijayanagara fought against Bahamani over again this area, over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. In medieval times, we have Vijayanagara fighting against Bahamani kingdom over this area. So here you see Kalyana Chalukya kingdom got divided into three parts: Yadavas, Hoysalas, Kakatiyas, and then Cholas are succeeded by the Pandyas. And when we do medieval India, we have this king called Alauddin Khalji. So Delhi Sultanate was established in 1206, Delhi Sultanate, and it was ruled by 5 dynasties, as many of you would know: the slave dynasty, the Khaljis, the Tughlaqs, the Saids, and the Lodhis. So we have this Sultan, Delhi Sultan called Alauddin Khalji. He wanted to conquer the whole of India, and he sent his general Malik Kafur to conquer South India. North India had been conquered by Alauddin Khalji. After having conquered North India, he sent his general Malik Kafur to conquer South India. And so Malik Kafur came to South India. He defeated the Yadavas of Devagiri. Okay, then he plundered and looted their kingdom. Hoysalas were defeated, the Kakatiyas were defeated, and even the Pandyas were defeated. So this is how you study. We make a transition from late ancient period to early medieval period. Did you understand? Hello, all of you. So Chalukya Pallava conflict. Chalukyas were succeeded by the Rashtrakutas, the Pallavas by the Cholas. So Rashtrakutas and Cholas fought against each other. Rashtrakutas were succeeded by the Kalyana Chalukyas, and they fought against the Cholas also over this area, over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Kalyana Chalukya kingdom got divided into three parts. Okay, Yadavas, the Hoysalas, and the Kakatiyas, and then the Cholas are succeeded by the Pandyas. And in medieval times, we have Vijayanagara and Bahamani also fighting over this area. Did you get me? Get that clear? I hope you drawn a better map in your page, in your notes, and you have drawn this sequence of events. Once you understand this in your mind, it becomes very easy to relate to the topic when we come to early medieval India. Clear? Now let us jump back to the PPT and discuss the Badami Chalukyas, the Chalukyas of Badami. And then after we finish the Chalukyas of Badami, we'll discuss the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. So Chalukyas of Badami, on your screen, they ruled from 543 to 755 AD. 543 to 755 AD. They were Vishnu worshippers. You can see their emblem was the royal boar facing right. So the boar is facing right. That was their emblem. So that means they were Vishnu worshippers. Varaha was their family deity. Varaha. That is the boar incarnation of Vishnu. Boar incarnation of Vishnu. That means they were Vishnu worshippers. Cheras were in Kerala, Gunjan. Cheras, they were ruling over parts of Kerala. So we'll come back here. So Chalukyas of Badami, they ruled from Badami or Vatapi. Badami or Vatapi was their capital. This is located in the present Bagalkot district of Karnataka. Ancient name of Badami was Vatapi. You can see here, right? Emblem was Varaha. And in their inscriptions, they called themselves as Harati Putras of the Manavya Gotra. Harati Putras of the Manavya Gotra. They fought against the Pallavas over the Krishna Tungabhadra Doab or the Raichur Doab. So you can see on your screen, there's a map here. These are the Chalukyas, and these are the Pallavas. And they fought over this area. On your screen, they fought over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin, the fertile belt of land between the Tungabhadra and the Krishna rivers. So that became the bone of contention between the Pallavas and the Chalukyas, Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers. That is called Raichur Doab. And this is Badami. You can see the fort here on top, the Badami fort. Okay, this was the capital of the Chalukyas of Badami. So let us understand the origin. Yeah, this animal is Varaha. Pari is it's a boar. So which suggests that they were Vishnu worshippers. One of the incarnations of Vishnu is the Varaha, boar. So what about the origin of the Chalukyas? Who were these Chalukyas? So Vatapi or Badami, that was the capital of their kingdom, Bhimare. Meaning of Vatapi, I would not know. I don't know the meaning of Vatapi, but they called their kingdom capital as Badami or Vatapi. Now, origin of this kingdom, generally it is believed that they were of local origin. Now, how do we know that they were of local origin? And most of the historians agree to this, that they were local people. They were belonging to that region where they ruled. Now, how do we know this, that they were local people? First of all, their army was called Karnatabala. The army of the Chalukyas of Badami was called Karnatabala. That is, they were Kannada speaking people. Kannada was their mother tongue. And so Karnatabala, they are the army of the Kannada speaking people. So that is number one. And secondly, many of their kings had Arasa. Their name was ending with Arasa. In Kannada language, Arasa means king. Arasa in Kannada language means king. One of the names is king, Raja or Arasa. So many of their kings had this name, Arasa ending in their names. For example, Katti Arasa, Mangal Arasa. So from that we come to know that they were of local origin. Okay, then we have the Ayodhya origin. Ancestors of Chalukyas came from Ayodhya according to some sources. And then according to Bilhana's Vikramanka Devacharita. So Bilhana was the Kashmir Pandit in the court of the Kalyana Chalukya king, Vikramaditya VI. So we have the Kalyana Chalukya king, Vikramaditya VI, whose court poet was Bilhana. And Bilhana writes one book called Vikramanka Devacharita. Vikramanka Devacharita. He says in that book that the word Chalukya is from the word Chuluka, that is hollow hand of Brahma. It is from the word Chuluka, the hollow hand of Brahma. That's where the word Chalukya comes from. So anyway, the most important theory is the first one, the local origin theory. They were supposedly localites. How do we know that? Their army was called Karnatabala, number one. And number two is many of their kings had their names ending with Arasa, which means Arasa means king. So Arasa is a Kannada word. That means they were of local origin. So let us look at the political history of the Chalukyas of Badami. Can I tell you the story here, all of you? Can I tell you the story and then discuss the PPT? That becomes easy for all of us. Yeah, thank you. Hollow hand is, your palm. When you cup your hand, when you cup your both your hands, that is the hollow hand. Now, Gunjan, I'm presenting history in the form of a story, so that it'll be easy to remember things, right? So the whole thing is to tell it as a story. So once you know the story, it becomes easy to remember. Okay, fine. We'll come back here. Now look here. The founder, understand this. Now focus on the class, all of you. So the founder of this kingdom, the Chalukyas of Badami, was Jayasimha. Jayasimha was a founder. He was the founder of this kingdom. The first important king was Pulakeshi. So Jayasimha served as a feudatory of the Kadambas of Banavasi. Understand this? He served as a feudatory of the Kadambas of Banavasi. Kadambas were the first local dynasty to rule Karnataka, Kannada-speaking regions. Kadambas of Banavasi. Banavasi was their capital. So the Chalukyas of Badami were serving as feudatories under the Kadambas of Banavasi. So Jayasimha is supposed to have been a feudatory under the Kadambas of Banavasi. He was the founder of this kingdom. Right. Then we have Pulakeshi the first. Pulakeshi the first is supposed to be the first independent ruler. He defeated the Kadambas. Pulakeshi the first defeated the Kadambas of Banavasi, and he makes Badami his capital. Badami or Vatapi became his capital. He makes Badami or Vatapi his capital. And we are told that Pulakeshi also performed an Ashwamedha sacrifice. He performed an Ashwamedha sacrifice. Right. Then we have Kirtivarma the first, third king, Kirtivarma. He expanded the kingdom. Understand this? He expanded the kingdom. He conquers the Nalas of Bastar. Nalas of Bastar. Bastar is in Madhya Pradesh. So he defeated the Nalas of Bastar, the Kadambas of Banavasi, the Mauryas of North Konkan, the Mauryas of North Konkan. So all these areas were conquered by Kirtivarma the first. Now understand this. Kirtivarma had a young son. His name was Pulakeshi the second. Kirtivarma the first. He had a young son. His name was Pulakeshi the second. He was still a minor. Pulakeshi the second was a minor. He was still a minor. And unfortunately, Kirtivarma was on his deathbed. Kirtivarma was on his deathbed. So he called his younger brother Mangalesha. He had a younger brother called Mangalesha. He called his younger brother Mangalesha and told Mangalesha, Kirtivarma tells Mangalesha that it looks like I'm going to die. My son is very small. Pulakeshi is still a young boy. Therefore, you act as the regent. You act as the pratinidhi. Pratinidhi means representative. You act as the regent or representative and rule the kingdom. And once my son comes of age, once he is an adult, then you hand over the kingdom to my son. So Mangalesha agreed to do the duty. Mangalesha became the regent. Regent means representative. So Kirtivarma died. Mangalesha became the king. He was ruling the kingdom as a regent for Pulakeshi II. And Pulakeshi was still a minor. And Mangalesha was also a great warrior. Mangalesha was a great warrior. He further expanded the kingdom. Also plundered the Latas, Malwas, Gurjaras. That is southern Gujarat. In southern Gujarat, we have the Latas, Malwas, the ruling over Malwa region, Gurjaras. He defeated all of them. And Mangalesha is called the father of Chalukyan architecture. The father of Chalukyan architecture. So near to Badami, we have a place called Mahakota. There's a place called Mahakota. So he built a temple there, the Mahakoteshwara temple. He built the Mahakoteshwara temple at Mahakota. And in this temple, we have an inscription, the Mahakota inscription. This Mahakuta inscription, which is found on one of the pillars of the Mahakuteshwara temple built by Mangalesha, gives us the genealogy of the Chalukyas. Genealogy means family tree. The family tree, founder, important kings, first king, second king, third king, etc. So all these details are found in the Mahakuta pillar inscription. And Mangalesha was ruling the kingdom. Young Pulakeshi was slowly growing up. And then came a time when Pulakeshi had become an adult, and he could become the king. But then Mangalesha refused to hand over the kingdom to his nephew. He refused to hand over the kingdom to his nephew. He wanted his own son to become the king. Mangalesha wanted his own son to become the king. This resulted in a civil war between Mangalesha and his nephew, Pulakeshi II. Okay, so I'll use another page here. So so you have the Elapattu Simbige battle. So there's a battle called Elapattu Simbige battle. So this is a place I located somewhere in present day Anantapur district of Andhra. So this is a place located in somewhere in the Anantapur district of Andhra Pradesh. The Elapattu Simbige battle. In this Elapattu Simbige battle, Pulakeshi II managed to kill his uncle. Pulakeshi II killed his uncle Mangalesha. Mangalesha was killed, and Pulakeshi became the king. So he comes to power in somewhere in 609 AD. Pulakeshi, and he ruled till 642. 609 to 642 AD. Clear? All of you till here? Are you clear? Did you understand? Clear till here? Can I move on? So the main, the main hero of this Chalukya chapter is this Pulakeshi. Most of the story revolves around him, Pulakeshi II. The rest of there are other kings also, but he's the most important king, Pulakeshi II. So he comes to power after killing his uncle Mangalesha. Now, what did Pulakeshi do? He was a warmonger. Understand this? He was a warmonger who loved to go to war. So Pulakeshi rapidly expanded the Chalukyan kingdom in all directions. So he defeated the Nalas of Bastar again, the Mauryas of North Konkan, then and he also conquered Gharapuri. So of Bombay, if you go to Bombay, we have the Elephanta Island of Bombay, locally called Gharapuri. So you take a ferry from the gateway of India and you travel one hour in the Arabian Sea. Of course, the water is calm. In the monsoon season, the ferry service is cancelled. There is no ferry service because the sea is rough. So within 1 hour, you reach Elephant Island, locally called Gharapuri, in the Arabian Sea. And those days, that island, which the Portuguese named Elephanta, I believe there was one natural rock formation which looked like the face of an elephant. So the Portuguese, looking at it, called it as Elephanta. So those days, this Elephanta Island was ruled by the Mauryas of North Konkan. So he defeated the Mauryas of North Konkan and conquered that island. That means he had a navy. For him to conquer Elephant Island, obviously he had a navy, and we are told that he had a navy of 100 ships. So Pulakeshi defeated many rulers, and he rapidly expanded the Chalukyan kingdom. So this is the Chalukyan kingdom here on your screen. You can see these are the Chalukyas of Badami. Chalukyas of Badami. Then we have Pulakeshi attacking east coast of Andhra. He attacks the east coast of Andhra, and we have two dynasties ruling here. Understand this? Two dynasties ruling this area. The Vishnukundins. Vishnukundin, and then Ranadurjayas. So these two kingdoms were ruling east coast of Andhra Pradesh. Pulakeshi defeated both of them. The Vishnu-Kundins and the Ranadurjayas were defeated by him. He conquers this entire stretch of land on the east coast of Andhra. And he had a cousin brother. Pulakeshi had a cousin brother. He appointed his cousin brother, Kubja Vishnuvardhana. Understand this? He appointed his younger brother, a cousin brother rather, Kubja Vishnuvardhana, as the governor of these conquered areas with Vengi as capital. So Vengi becomes the capital of this conquered area. And who was made the governor? Kubja Vishnuvardhana, the cousin of Pulakeshi II. Kubja in Kannada language, I believe, is hunchback. He had a hunch behind his back, on his back. So Kubja Vishnuvardhana was made the governor of this conquered territory with Vengi as capital. Now, in the year 642 AD, understand this, in 642 AD, Pulakeshi died. How he died, I'll tell you later. So Pulakeshi died in 642. When Pulakeshi died in 642 AD, this Kubja Vishnuvardhana proclaimed himself independent. He proclaimed himself independent and founded a separate dynasty which came to rule over eastern Andhra, east coast of Andhra, for more than 400 years. And this dynasty has been called as the Chalukyas of Vengi. They are called the Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi. Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi, or the Vengi Chalukyas. These are called also as the Vengi Chalukyas. Are you there with me, all of you? Clear? So Kubja Vishnuvardhana is the founder of the Vengi Chalukyan dynasty. They are called the Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi, as opposed to the Western Chalukyas. These Chalukyas who ruled northwest portions of Karnataka are called Western Chalukyas. Okay, and the Vengi Chalukyas are called Eastern Chalukyas. Can you raise your hand so that I know that you are able to catch whatever I'm telling you? Catch me whatever I'm, you're able to catch me. Clear? Can I proceed? A lot of things are there to cover. Can you raise your hands? Hello? Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello, all of you? Okay, clear now? Okay, can I move on? Audible and visible. Okay, there was some network issue, I suppose. Okay, thank you. Now let me move on. So here, Kubja Vishnuvardhana declared himself independent after the death of Pulakeshi and founded the Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi dynasty, which ruled for more than 450 years. It ruled for about 450 years. Now, let me continue. Now, when Harshavardhana attacked South India, it was the same Pulakeshi who defeated Harsha in the Battle of Narmada. In the Battle of Narmada, it was Pulakeshi II who defeated Harsha. So Harsha was defeated on the banks of the Narmada. And Ravi Kirti, who was author of the Aihole inscription, tells us that my master Pulakeshi II defeated the Sakala Uttara Patishwara. And Pulakeshi took the title of Parameshwara or Dakshina Pateshwara. After this, he took the title of Dakshina Parameshwara or Dakshina Pateshwara. Now we have the Pallavas ruling over this part of the country. Pallavas. You all know this. The Pallavas of Kanchipuram. So Pallavas were ruling with Kanchipuram as their capital. And Pulakeshi has been blamed, understand this, Pulakeshi II has been blamed by historians for the Pallava-Chalukya conflict. Who was the Pallavan king at that point in time? Mahendravarman I. Mahendravarman the first was the Pallavan king. Now Pulakeshi, without any provocation, understand this, without any provocation by the Pallavas, Pulakeshi took his army and attacked the Pallavan kingdom. He attacked the Pallavan kingdom. In the Battle of Pulalur, so this happened in 630 AD. In the Battle of Pulalur, what is known as the Battle of Pulalur, in the Battle of Pulalur, Pulakeshi defeated and killed Mahendravarman the first. Mahendravarma was defeated and killed by Pulakeshi. And the entire northern part of the Pallavan kingdom was conquered by Pulakeshi. So he went back triumphantly after having conquered the northern portions of the Pallavan kingdom. So this happened in 630 AD. I repeat, in the Battle of Pulalur, Pulakeshi defeated and killed Mahendravarman the first. So Mahendravarma the first was killed. 12 years later, that is in 642. Understand this? In 12 years later, that is in 642 AD, Pulakeshi again attacked the Pallavan kingdom. And who was the Pallavan king now? Narasimhavarma. Narasimhavarman. Narasimhavarman the first, the son of Mahendravarman the first. He was the son of Mahendravarma, this Narasimhavarma. So Pulakeshi again attacked the Pallavan kingdom. 3 closely contested battles were fought between the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. So this is the Battle of Periyala, the Battle of Periyala, Suramara, and Manimangala. The Battle of Periyala, or Pariyala rather, Battle of Pariyala, Suramara, Manimangala. In these 3 battles, Narasimhavarma, the Pallavan king, was able to defeat Pulakeshi II. I repeat, Narasimhavarma, the Pallavan king, was able to defeat Pulakeshi II. And Pulakeshi was also killed in this battle. Pulakeshi was also killed in the battle. Thereupon, when the Chalukyas were retreating, understand this, when the Chalukyas, having been defeated in these 3 battles, were retreating back to their capital, the Pallavas began to give chase. They began to chase them. And they chased them up to the capital Badami. The Pallavas chased them up to the capital Badami. And they conquered Badami. And Narasimhavarma, the first, took the title Vatapi Konda. Vatapi Konda. Vatapi Kondan. Mamalla. That is, Mamalla means great wrestler. Vatapi Konda and Mamalla. These are the titles taken by Narasimhavarman the first. And Narasimhavarma conquered Badami. The Pallavas have conquered Badami. And as a commemoration of this victory, Narasimhavarma founded the city of Mamallapuram, which is now called Mahabalipuram. So off Chennai, about 50 kilometers from Chennai or Madras, we have this beautiful town called Mahabalipuram or Mamallapuram. So this is the town built by Narasimhavarma the first as a commemoration for his victory over Pulakeshi II. Are you there with me? So he founded the city of Mamallapuram or Mahabalipuram, in English Mahabalipuram. Now the question is this the end of the Chalukyas? Was this the end of the Chalukyas? The answer is no. The answer is no. The Pallavas occupied Badami for 12 years. The Pallavas occupied Badami for 12 years. Pulakeshi has been killed. Pulakeshi II was killed. And the Pallavas occupied Badami for 12 years. I'll continue the story in some time. Just hold on. About Pulakeshi, what happened to the Chalukya kingdom after Pulakeshi. I'll continue. Just hold on. There are other things I need to discuss about Pulakeshi. You see, Pulakeshi, I told you already, had a navy of 100 ships. And with that navy, he was able to conquer the Elephanta Island. Elephanta is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are 6 caves in Elephanta. Now, all these caves are dedicated to Lord Shiva. It is dedicated to Lord Shiva. And in one of the caves, we have the so-called Maheshamurti cave. That is the image of 3-faced Shiva, the bust of 3-faced Shiva. That is only till here. we have three faces of Shiva. Shiva has creator, preserver, and destroyer. And it is 25 feet in height. And this image of Shiva is found in a cave. Inside the cave, we find this 25 feet bust of Shiva with three faces. This is called Trimurti cave. This is also called Mahesha Murti or Trimurti cave. Now, Pulakeshi II is supposed to have sent an ambassador to the Persian king Khusru II. So the king of Persia is Iran, as you know. Persia is Iran. Old name of Iran is Persia. And Persia during those days was ruled by Khusru II. Khusru II. So Pulakeshi sent an ambassador to the court of the Persian king Khusru II. And in the year 625 AD, understand this, in 625 AD, we have Khusru II sending an ambassador to the court of Pulakeshi. Pulakeshi, in one of the caves at Ajanta, in fact, in Ajanta cave number 1, there are 29 caves at Ajanta. In Ajanta cave number 1, we have the reception being given to this Persian envoy sent by the Persian king. So Pulakeshi is seen receiving this Persian ambassador. And that has been beautifully depicted in a cave painting in Ajanta cave number 1. Clear? So this is about Pulakeshi II. Now the question is, what happened to the Chalukyan kingdom? Understand this? What happened to the Chalukyan kingdom after the death of Pulakeshi? As we have seen, Narasimha Varma and the Pallavas have occupied Badami. The question is, was it the end of the Chalukyas? And I told you already, the answer is no. This was not the end of the Chalukyas. Now what happened? There's a twist to the tale here. The twist to the tale. This Pulakeshi II had a son. He had a minor son, a small boy. His name was Vikramaditya. Vikramaditya the first. So when his father was killed, Pulakeshi II was killed, the ministers, so when Pulakeshi II was killed and Badami was conquered by the Pallavas, the ministers of Pulakeshi II, they secured this boy and they escaped from Badami. The ministers with the family members of Pulakeshi, they escaped from Badami. And the Pallavas had occupied Badami for how many years? I told you, 12 years. In this 12-year period, this boy became an adult. Vikramaditya I became a man. And then secretly, the Chalukyas reorganized an army. They organized an army secretly. Obviously, the people of the Chalukyan kingdom will support the local royal family. So secretly, they organized an army. And after 12 years, Vikramaditya I took his army and attacked Badami. He drove away the Pallavas from Badami and he came and sat on the throne. So he resurrected the Chalukyan kingdom and the dynasty. So like a phoenix, they rose from the ashes. Like a phoenix, the Chalukyas rose from the ashes, and the person responsible for this was Vikramaditya I, the son of Pulakeshi II. And what did Vikramaditya the first do now? He wanted revenge. He wanted revenge against the Pallavas. The Pallavas had killed their father. So Vikramaditya took his army and he attacked the Pallavan kingdom now. And who was the Pallavan king now? Mahendra Varman II. Mahendra Varman II was the Pallavan king. He was the son of Narasimha Varma I. He was son of Narasimha Varman I, that is Mahendra Varman II. So here Vikramaditya I killed Mahendra Varman II. He also defeated two other kings, Parameshwara Varman I. He also defeated Parameshwara Varman I. Now, Vikramaditya I attacks Gujarat. Understand this? He attacks Gujarat. So I'll use another map here. So he attacks southern Gujarat. And he conquers this part of Gujarat. Southern Gujarat was conquered by him. So this is Gujarat. If this is southern Gujarat, he conquers this area, southern Gujarat, and he appointed his brother Jayasimha Varman. Jayasimhavarman was appointed as the governor of this conquered area of Gujarat. And Jayasimhavarman and his successors ruled southern Gujarat for a number of years. So these Chalukyas who ruled southern Gujarat are sometimes also called the Chalukyas of Gujarat. The Chalukyas of Gujarat. So, did you understand? The Chalukyas of Gujarat. So, Jayasimhavarman was the brother of Vikramaditya I. So, after having conquered southern Gujarat, or Latha, as it is called, Latha means southern Gujarat, right? Jayasimhavarman was appointed as its governor. And Jayasimhavarman and his successors ruled Gujarat for a long time, and they are called the Chalukyas of Gujarat. Clear? So, here Pulakeshi conquered eastern coast of Andhra, and he appointed his brother Kubja Vishnuvardhana as the governor of those conquered territories. And after Pulakeshi was killed, Kubja Vishnuvardhana founded a separate dynasty who have come to be called as the Eastern Chalukyas of Vengi, or the Vengi Chalukyas. Then Pulakeshi's son Vikramaditya I conquered southern Gujarat and appointed his brother Jayasimhavarman as the governor of those conquered areas. And Jayasimhavarman and his successors have come to be known as the Chalukyas of Gujarat. Clear? All clear till here? So you can see on your screen, I have discussed Mangalesha. So Mangalesha, then Pulakesha II, Vikramaditya I. Then we have Vinayaditya. Vinayaditya, he's supposed to have defeated and conquered Kannauj, right? And he also sent an embassy. He also sent a campaign to Cambodia. He sent an embassy to Cambodia. Vinayaditya. Vijayaditya, he ruled for about 40 years. Vijayaditya ruled for about 40 years, and during his period, we have a number of temples built. A number of temples were built. Generally, he was a peace-loving monarch, Vijayaditya. Then we have Vikramaditya II. Vikramaditya II is considered to be the second greatest of the Chalukyas. So during the time of Vijayaditya, I'll come back here. During the time of Vijayaditya, the Arabs conquered Sindh. Arabs conquered Sindh in 712 AD during the time of Vijayaditya. So when I do early medieval India, you'll understand what I was trying to tell you. Arabs conquered a part of Sindh in 712 AD. So, and who was the Chalukyan king? It was Vijayaditya. Then Vikramaditya II, he is considered to be the second greatest of the Chalukyas, Vikramaditya II. And he plundered Kanchi 3 times. He attacked the Pallavan kingdom 3 times. And how do we know this? We have an inscription in the Lokeshwara temple or the Virupaksha temple. So Virupaksha temple at Patadakal. So there's a place called Patadakal very near to Badami, about 10 kilometers from Badami. We have another city called Patadakal. So there we have 2 temples. He had 2 wives, Vikramaditya II. So one of his wives built the Lokeshwara temple or the Virupaksha temple. And on the walls of this Virupaksha temple, we have the Patadakal inscription. In that inscription, we come to know that Vikramaditya II had plundered Kanchi 3 times. He defeated the Pallavan king Parameshwara II and also Nandivarman II or Pothavarman. And Nandivarman II gave his daughter in marriage to Vikramaditya II. In fact, this is the only example of restraint between these 2 kingdoms. Whenever the Chalukyas defeated the Pallavas, they engaged in loot and plunder. Similarly, when the Pallavas defeated the Chalukyas, they looted and plundered the Chalukyan kingdom. The only time there was peace between these 2 kingdoms was when Vikramaditya II defeated the Pallavan king Nandivarman II, and Nandivarman II, the Pallavan king, gave his daughter in marriage to Vikramaditya II. The last ruler was Kirtivarman II, during whose period we have Danti Durga, one of his feudatories called Danti Durga. He killed Kirtivarman II and established the Rashtrakuta dynasty with Ellora, which is now in Maharashtra, as its capital, or Ilichpuram. Ellora becomes the capital of the Rashtrakutas. Ellora is also called Ilichpuram. So the Rashtrakutas were feudatories under the Badami Chalukyas. The Badami Chalukyas or Chalukyas of Badami are known for the Vesara style of temple building. So we have 3 forms of temple building. The North Indian style is called Nagara. Nagara style of temple building. South Indian style is called Dravida. And when you have features of both the styles, when you mix both Nagara and Dravida temple styles, it is called Vesara style. So the Chalukyas of Badami were responsible, or they were the one who inaugurated the Vesara style of temple building. And many other dynasties like the Rashtrakutas, the Kalyana Chalukyas, and the Hoysalas copied the Vesara style. Chalukyan temples are mostly found at Aihole, Badami, and Pattadakal. So when I come to art and culture section, when I do art and culture, particularly art and architecture, we'll be discussing about the Vesara style of temple building also. As of now, I am only dealing the conventional political history. This is about the Chalukyas of Badami. Are you there with me? Now, Angkor Wat was built during the time of, King Suryavarman II. Sumo. It was built by King Suryavarman II of the Shailendra dynasty. And he was a contemporary of Kulatunga the First. He was a contemporary of Kulatunga the First. The Angkor Wat temple, which is the biggest Vishnu temple in the world. Yeah, he sent an envoy, that is ambassador to the Persian king. The improved relations. So there was trade relations between the Badami Chalukyas and the Persians. So that's why the Chalukyan king, to further trade relations, diplomatic ties, he sent ambassador to the Persian king, and also the Persian king returned an ambassador to the court of Pulakeshin II. Clear? King Suryavarman II. Okay. So let us look at the PPTs now. Founder was Jayasimha. As you know, he was a feudatory of the Kadambas of Banavasi. Then Pulakeshi I, he was the first independent ruler, and he declared his independence after defeating the Kadambas of Banavasi and made Badami his capital. And according to the Badami inscription of Kappe Arabhatta, so Badami inscription is written by Kappe Arabhatta, he is supposed to perform an Ashwamedha sacrifice. Then Pulakeshi the first had two sons, Kirtivarma and Mangalesha. So Kirtivarma succeeded his father. He expanded the kingdom by wars against the Kadambas of Banavasi, the Nalas of Bastar, Mauryas of Konkan. His son Pulakesha II was a minor at the time of his death. Thereupon, his brother Mangalesha acted as regent to his nephew Pulakesha II. And Mangalesha is considered to be the father of Chalukyan architecture. He built the Vishnu temple at Badami. He was a Vishnu devotee. He built the Vishnu cave temple at Badami. Then he's called the father of Chalukyan architecture. I told you, he built the Mahakoteshwara temple at Mahakota with a pillar inscription. And the Mahaputa pillar inscription talks about the genealogy of the Chalukyas. And he himself was a great warrior who defeated a number of dynasties, kings. But he refused to hand over the throne to his nephew Pulakeshin II. That resulted in a civil war. And in the Elapattu Simbige battle, Pulakeshin II managed to kill his uncle. And he became the next ruler. Pulakeshi 609 to 642 AD, greatest of the Badami Chalukyas. Main source of information is the Aihole inscription of Ravi Kirti, his court poet and commander, and also accounts of Hyun-sang. So Hyun-sang, please understand, also visited the court of Pulakeshi, and it talks about the socio-economic conditions of the Chalukyan kingdom. So Hyun-sang visited Harsha's court. He also visited the court of Pulakeshi II, and then he also went to the Pallavan capital, Kanchipuram, and visited the court of Narasimhavarman I. Did you understand? So Hyun-sang, Chinese traveler, visited the court of Harsha. Then he also visited the court of Pulakeshi, the Pulakeshi II, and also the Pallavan king Narasimhavarman I. So these are the three kings he visited. Hyun-sang. So greatest of the dynasty was Pulakeshi II. Original name was Iriyappa, and in the civil war he killed his uncle and came to power. So he expanded the Chalukyan kingdom rapidly by defeating the Kadambas, the Alupas, the Western Gangas. He conquered the Elephant Island from the Mauryas of North Konkan or Puri. So, Elephant Island is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So this is, you can see here, this is the Aihole stone inscription of Ravi Kirti. And this is the Elephanta Caves. On your screen, this is the gateway of India in Bombay, the gateway of India. And you take a ferry and reach Gharapuri, locally called Gharapuri or Elephanta. These are the caves. There are 6 caves like this. All these caves are dedicated to Lord Shiva. And inside the cave, we have, in one of the caves, we have the 3-faced Shiva, the idol of 3-faced, the bust of 3-faced Shiva. Shiva has creator, preserver, and destroyer. This is called Mahesha Murti Cave at Elephanta. So Pulakeshi is supposed to have conquered Elephanta Islands, right? So then he attacked the east coast of Andhra and defeated the Vishnu Kundins and the Ranadurjayas. And he appointed his cousin Kubja Vishnuvardhana as the governor of those conquered territories. And Kubja Vishnuvardhana later founded the Vengi Chalukya kingdom, isn't it? After the death of Pulakeshi, he founded the Chalukyas of Vengi, or the eastern Chalukyas of Vengi, who ruled for about 450 years. Then Pulakeshi was the one who defeated Harsha in the Battle of Narmada. You have seen this, and assumed the title of Parameshwara or Dakshina Pateshwara. Now, what are the main reasons for the war between Pulakeshi and Harsha? Of course, Harsha's ambition was to conquer South India. But apart from his ambition, we have 2 other reasons. One is the conquest of Vallabhi by Harsha. Harsha conquered Vallabhi in Gujarat. So as a result, the Harsha's kingdom came very close to that of Pulakeshi's kingdom. And then question of overlordship over the Latas, Malwas, Gurjaras. Who is the person who is the overlord over the Latas, Malwas, Gurjaras? Harshavardhana claimed overlordship over the Latas, Malwas, Gurjaras. Pulakeshi also claimed overlordship. As a result, these 2 ambitious men came into conflict with each other. And in the Battle of Narmada, Pulakeshi defeated Harshavardhana. And Hyun Sang also talks about the victory of Pulakeshi over Harsha. So it is also seconded by Hyun Sang. Hyun Sang also tells us that Harsha lost this battle. Right? So this is the empire of Harsha. We have seen this. And Narmada became the boundary line, became the boundary between these 2 kings. The Battle of Narmada. We have already spoken about it. Pulakeshi took the title of Dakshina Pateshwara, the Lord of South India. That was the title taken by Pulakeshi II. So this is the empire of Pulakeshi on your screen. Then Pulakeshi is the person who is responsible for beginning of the dynastic wars with the Pallavas. He began the conflict with the Pallavas. In the first expedition, he defeated the Pallavan king Mahendravarman I. He killed him also in the Battle of Pulalur. Then in the second expedition, which took place exactly 12 years later, when he attacked the Pallavan kingdom, Narasimhavarma I defeated Pulakeshi in the battles of Pariyala, Manimangala, and Suramara, and killed him, and killed Pulakeshi II. And he occupies, the Pallavan king occupied Badami and took the title Vatapi Konda, Mamalla. Mamalla means great wrestler. Mamalla means great wrestler. And founded the city of Mamallapuram. In English, it is called Mahabalipuram. Mahabalipuram. So to commemorate this particular victory. Yeah, what is the doubt, Karan? What is the doubt? Instead of writing doubt, you please write the question. Type the question, Karan. Type the doubt so that, and you don't need to pause. Okay, I move on. So he took the title of Vatapikonda and Mamalla. Then Pulakeshi had friendly relations with the Persian king Khusro II. So this has been mentioned by the Arab historian Tabari. Tabari is the one who mentions about it. And in 625, Pulakeshi sent an envoy to the Persian king and also received one from him. And the reception given to this Persian ambassador is depicted in one of the caves in Ajanta, that is Ajanta cave number 1. You can see here on your screen, this is the pencil sketch. This is the pencil sketch of that particular painting in cave number 1 at Ajanta. Unfortunately, the painting has got damaged, smudged, so the clarity has been lost. But then, when was Ajanta caves discovered? Sometime in 1817. So when it was discovered in 1817, the paintings were much more clearer than what they are now. So from that clearer painting, you have a pencil sketch which was made later, and this is the pencil sketch. So Pulakeshi II receiving the Persian ambassador, a painting in Ajanta cave number 1. Did you understand? Yeah, Karan, I'm coming to that, Karan. Just hold on. It was Vikramaditya the first. So Hyun Song also visited the court of Pulakeshi and talks about the socio-economic conditions of the Chalukyan kingdom. Pulakeshi was succeeded by his illustrious son Vikramaditya the first. Vikramaditya the first. So he was the one who reconquered Badami from the Pallavas. After 12 years, he reconquered Badami from the Pallavas, drove away the Pallavan forces from Badami. Then he attacks Kanchipuram, the capital of the Pallavas, and defeats and kills Mahendravarman II, the son of Narsimhavarman I. So he drove out the occupying Pallavan forces. He invaded the Pallavan kingdom and killed Mahendravarman II. Then he also defeated Parameshwaravarman in the battle of Peruvanannalluru. In the battle of Peruvanannalluru, he also defeated Parameshwaravarman I and also defeated Narsimhavarman II. He conquered the Latha region, I told you, southern Gujarat, and appointed his brother Jayasimhavarman as the governor of those conquered areas. And his successors, the successors of Jayasimhavarman, have come to be also called as the Chalukyas of Gujarat. Clear, Karan? Vikramaditya I was the son of Pulakeshi, the second who succeeded him. Then we have Vinayaditya. Vinayaditya. So he is supposed to have defeated the ruler of Kanauj and sent an expedition to Cambodia. Vinayaditya. Then Vijayaditya, he ruled for about 40 years, longest reign of 40 years. Generally, we notice a lot of temple building activities. He was a peace-loving monarch. Great activity in temple building is noticed during his period. And the Arabs conquered Sindh in 712 AD during his period. His queen Vinayavati installed an image of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh inside the Badami cave. Then the second greatest of the Chalukyas was Vikramaditya II. He's the second greatest. He plundered Kanchi 3 times. The Patadakal pillar inscription. So there's a place called Patadakal about 10 kilometers from Badami. A little bit more, like about 25 kilometers from Badami, Patadakal. So in this inscription, we are told that he plundered Kanchi 3 times. He invaded Kanchi 3 times. He defeated Parameshwaravarman II and also Nandivarman II or Pottavarman. But when he defeated Nandivarman II, understand this, when he defeated Nandivarman II, he did not plunder the Pallavan kingdom. In fact, he inspected the jewels, whatever wealth was there in the Pallavan treasury, he inspected all those things and he donated it back to the temple, the Kanchi temple there. And he married the daughter of Nandivarman II. So he donated all the wealth to the Kailashanatha temple at Kanchipuram. So then during his period, the Chalukyan feudatory of Navasarika, South Gujarat, Avani Janashraya Pulakeshi, repelled the Arab conquest of Gujarat. So repelled the Arabs who tried to penetrate beyond Sindh. So Avani Janashraya Pulakeshi, he defeated the Arabs of Sindh when they tried to make inroads into southern Gujarat. So you see, Sindh was a desert area. The Arabs had conquered Sindh in 712 AD. But then they very soon realized that Sindh is a desert and there is no resources there. So therefore, they tried to expand beyond Sindh. But then when they tried to expand beyond Sindh into southern Gujarat, Avani Janashraya Pulakeshi, who was the governor of the Chalukyas here in that area, defeated the Arabs. So he was the governor, feudatory of Navasarika, ruling over southern Gujarat under the Chalukyas of Badami. His name was Avani Janashraya Pulakeshi. Clear, all of you, till here? Okay. Then we have his queens, that is queens of Vikramaditya II, Loka Mahadevi and Trailokya Mahadevi. So he had 2 queens. Loka Mahadevi built the Lokeshwara temple, also called Virupaksha temple at Patadakal, and Trailokya Mahadevi built the Trailokeshwara or Mallikarjuna temple there at Patadakal. The last king was Kirtivarman II. who was killed by his governor Dantidurga. One of his governors, Dantidurga, killed him and founded the Rashtrakuta dynasty in 755 AD with Ellora as capital. So Ellora becomes the capital. The Chalukyas of Badami developed the Vesara style of temple building. Their monuments are mainly found at Aihole, Badami, Patadakal. Their monuments are mostly found there at Aihole, Badami, Patadakal. So this is Aihole. We'll talk about Aihole, Badami, Patadakal when I do art and architecture as part of art and culture chapter. Patadakal is this. Some of the temples of Patadakal, right? So looking at the administration of the Chalukyas of Badami, it was a centralized administration. All the powers were in the hands of the king. So we have a council of ministers who assisted the king. So we have various officers like Danda Adhikari, Amatya, Mahasandhi Vigrahi. So Danda Adhikari, Amatya, Mahasandhi Vigrahi, Lekaka, Purohita, etc. These are the officers who assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. Kingdom was divided into districts called Vishaya or Mandala under Vishayadipati or Mandaladipati. So Vishayadipati or Mandaladipati. So he was the head of the district. Then village was under a village headman called Gauda or Gavunda, assisted by a village council called Mahajana. So important members of the village, they will form a council and assist the headman. And that was called Mahajana, and the accountant was called Grama Bhogika or Karana. So he was a village accountant. The Chalukyan army was called Karnata Bala, and the commander of the army was the Dandanayaka. So he was called the Dandanayaka or commander. And Chalukyas also had a navy. So factual information. Then main source of income was agriculture, land revenue from agriculture. That was the main source of income. And Chalukyas built a number of tanks. So they gave encouragement to irrigation. They built a number of tanks. And we find 14 tanks in the Haveri district of Karnataka, according to the Shigong Upper inscription. It talks about the 14 tanks built by them. Land revenue was their main source of income, and we have other taxes like Harjenka, taxes on shares, Birnode, tax on trade, Pannaya, tax on betel leaf. These are various taxes imposed. Weaving was an important occupation in the Chalukyan kingdom. Then we have merchant guilds playing an important role. Shrenis were merchant guilds or trading guilds, played an important role. What's a guild? An association of merchants dealing with the same commodity. I've told you this. Shreni. And we have a number of Shrenis mentioned like Aihole 500, Kalkutiga, Uppara. These are all the names of various guilds, trade guilds. Chalukya traded with Persia. So basically, they were Brahminical Hindus. They were Vishnu worshippers, but they also tolerated other religions like Jainism. So you have kings patronizing Shaivism, Vaishnavism, and Jainism. And Hyun Sang tells us that Buddhism existed in the kingdom. Varnashrama dharma was practiced, right? And women of higher classes held high positions. For example, we have Vajjika, the daughter-in-law of Pulakeshin II. She wrote Kaumudi Mahotsava in Sanskrit. So she was the daughter-in-law of Pulakeshin II, Judge Vajjika. So we have many queens. Either they built temples or got it restored or repaired. For example, Vinayavati, the wife of Vijayaditya, installed idols of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh in the Badami caves. Vinayavati, wife of Vijayaditya. Similarly, Kunkuma Mahadevi built a giant temple called Ane Sajje in Gudigiri. So Gudigiri is in the Dharwad district of Karnataka. Gudigiri. So, and prostitutes and concubines held a good status in society, I believe. Right? So literature, of course, Kannada was their state language. Right? And then a number of books were written. The Badami inscription of Kappe Arabhatta is in the Tripadi form. That is 3-line poetry written in 3 lines. Tripadi, that's called Tripadi. Right. So this is about Badami Chalukyas. And also some of the paintings are found in the Ajanta caves. They're in the fresco style. Right. This is about Badami Chalukyas. Clear? Can we take a break of 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes and come back? Temples in Badami, Patadakallu got damaged. Is this because... No, not because of any outsider. It is because of weathering by Bhimare. They belong to the 7th century, 8th century AD. So it's more than 1,200 years old. So therefore, because of weathering, they have got damaged, not because of any other thing. So we'll take a 15 minutes break and come back and do Pallavas. And but once I finish Pallavas, then again we'll go for a break and we'll start our our art and culture webinar at 8:30. So you have a webinar at 8:30. So we'll take a 15 minutes break and come back. Now it is about what? Now we meet at around 7:15. Exactly 7:15 we meet and start with the Pallavas. Exactly 7:15 p.m. Okay, so carry on. 15 minutes break, and then I'll not take much time to finish Pallavas. It's the when you tell the story of the Pallavas, Chalukyas. When you tell the story of the Chalukyas Ulta, it is Pallavas. For example, Pulakesh II defeated and killed Mahendavarman the first. So if I start the Pallavas, I'll tell Mahendavarman the first was defeated and killed by Pulakesh II. So that way, right? So it's almost Ulta. Last slide, it is there here. They also gave a lot of importance to fine arts, painting, sculpture, etc. Yeah, obviously, a Varna system is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. No, hurry. Sangam literature is different. I never spoke anything about Sangam literature. It's only Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. That was respected by the Chalukyan kings. So you carry on. We'll meet at 7:15. No, it's just a webinar, not starting with art and culture. Okay, carry on. Okay, good evening. Can we continue? Am I audible and visible? Hello? Zainab, good evening. What about others? Can you please raise your hands? Can I continue? Yeah, Anushka, Anamika, Prajneet. Okay, so we have discussed about Harshavardhana, Pushabhutis and Harshavardhana. Then we discussed about the Badami Chalukyas, the Chalukyas of Badami. Now let us talk about the Pallavas. Pallavas of Kanchipuram. These are the great Pallavas, the imperial Pallavas, 6th century to the 9th century AD. So when we talk about the Pallavas, we divide their history into three categories, three parts rather. The early Pallavas, then the Pallavas who came after them, the second line of the Pallavas, then the great Pallavas or the imperial Pallavas. And whatever we are going to discuss now is about the imperial Pallavas, the great Pallavas. Now, who were these Pallavas? They were supposedly from the land of Tondai Nadu. They were local tribes. Basically, they were local tribes from the land of the creepers or Tondai Nadu or the land of creepers. And they are identified with the Ashokan, um, you know, uh, Pulindas, what we call Pulindas with Ashokan inscriptions. They are identified with the same Ashokan inscriptions calls them as Pulindas. So on your screen, the Pallavas were a local tribe who established their authority in the Tondai Nadu or the land of creepers, identical with the Pulindas mentioned in Ashokan inscriptions. So they were earlier feudatories of the Shatavahanas. Once the Shatavahana Empire declined, they declared themselves independent. So we have three groups of Pallavas. We have the early Pallavas, the early line of Pallavas, 250 to 350 AD. Shivaskandavarman, Vijayaskandavarman were the important kings, and the language of their charter is in Prakrit language. So they wrote in Prakrit language. The royal charter is in Prakrit language. Then the second line of the Pallavas, they use Sanskrit as their charter language, and Vishnugopa was defeated by Samudragupta. You remember we have done the Gupta king Samudragupta when he came to his Dakshinapata campaigns, the 12 kings of South India who were defeated by him. One of the kings defeated by Samudragupta was Vishnugopa, the king of the Pallavas. So he belonged to the second line of the Pallavas. And the third line ruled from 570 to 900 AD. Sanskrit and Tamil, they used both Sanskrit and Tamil. And Simha Vishnu was the one who destroyed the Kalabras. So we have the Kalabras who had occupied the deep south. They were the ones who had replaced the Sangam kingdoms, the Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. They were the Sangam dynasties. So they had been replaced by the Kalabras. So the rule of the Kalabras was ended by Simha Vishnu, the Pallavan king, along with an alliance of the Chalukyas and the Pandyas. So Mahendravarman the first, Narasimhavarman the first were the other important kings. So we are going to talk about the third line of the Pallavas or the imperial Pallavas, right? So they ruled for about 3 centuries with capital at Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is about for 50 kilometers from Chennai, famous for Kanchi silk saris, Kanchipuram. And the Pallavas fought against the Chalukyas over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. That was the bone of contention between the Chalukyas and the Pallavas. So again, this became the bone of contention. The Tungabhadra and the Krishna fertile belt of land between the Tungabhadra and the Krishna rivers. So political history, we have Simha Vishnu, Mahendravarman the first, Narasimhavarman the first, Mahendravarman the second, Narasimhavarman the second, Nandivarman the second, Aparajita Pallava. So let us talk about their history. So Simha Vishnu was their founder. Simha Vishnu was the founder of the Pallavan kingdom. He was a Vishnu devotee, titled Avani Simha. Mega just focus on the class. I have notified them. Uploading webinars and putting it on the dashboard, etc., is somebody else's work. It's not my work. It's already been decided to hold the webinar at 8:30. We'll come to that. Just hold on. When I'm telling you a webinar is at 8:30, please trust me. It is at 8:30, and whatever you have to receive, you'll receive. We'll come back here. So Simha Vishnu was the founder. He was a follower of Vaishnavism. So you look here, the Pallavas claimed descent from Vishnu. The Pallavas claimed descent from Vishnu. So they believed that Vishnu was their family god. Claimed descent from Vishnu. So, but then very surprisingly, only two Pallavas were Vishnu worshippers. Only two Pallavas were Vishnu worshippers. Who are the two Pallavas who were Vishnu worshippers, though their family deity was Vishnu? One was this founder, Simha Vishnu. One was Simha Vishnu, and the second was Nandi Varman II. Nandi Varman II. Now, what are the highlights of the Pallava rule? Of course, political history we have seen. They fought against the Chalukyas of Badami over the Krishna Tungabhadra basin. Then you see, though they were Tamils, Sanskrit was their official language. Very interestingly, Sanskrit was their official language. Sanskrit was their official language. Then they carried Indian culture across the Bay of Bengal to Southeast Asia. So they spread Indian culture. To Southeast Asian countries, Southeast Asia. Then the Pallavas were also responsible for the Dravidas of temple building, Dravida style. So Dravida temple building style, the foundation was laid by them, and it was further improved upon by the Cholas. So Dravida style of temple building was begun by them, the foundation was laid by them, and it was improved upon by the Cholas. Right. So here, let us discuss the political history. Simha Vishnu was the founder. He was a Vishnu devotee. Then Mahendravarman I, known by various titles. Mahendravarman, Gunabhara. These are the various titles. Matta Vilasa, Vichitra Chitta, Chitra Karapuli. Matta Vilasa, Vichitra Chitta, Chittara Chitta Karapuli. That is adapted painting. Chitta Karapuli means adapted painting. So he was interested in painting. Chittakari, builder of temples. So these are the various titles of Mahendravarman I. And he wrote a very humorous drama, a very funny drama called Mattavilasa Prahasana. Mattavilasa Prahasana. Mattavilasa Prahasana. Did you get the spelling there? In English, a farce of drunken sport. A farce of drunken sport in English language. That is a literal meaning of Mattavilasa Prahasana. So that is written in Sanskrit language, a very humorous drama. So what is this Mattavilasa Prahasana? I believe there was a Kapalika. There was a Kapalika. Kapalika, they were one of the extreme Shaiva sects, Kapalika. So there was a Kapalika who had a skull, a human skull has his begging bowl. I'm telling you the gist of this humorous drama. So Kapalika was there. He had a human skull has his begging bowl. And he was sleeping with that under a tree. So when he got up from his nap, he saw that his begging bowl was missing. And there was nearby a Brahmin who was sleeping. So he suspected that Brahmin to have stolen his begging bowl, which is basically a human skull. So there's an argument between this Kapalika and that Brahmin. And this is the gist of this particular drama. Ultimately, the Kapalika comes to know that it was not the Brahmin who had stolen his begging bowl, which is a human skull, but a dog, a stray dog had taken away his skull and ran away. So this is the drama written by Mahendravarman the first, Matta Vilasa Prahasana. It is in Sanskrit language. And Mahendravarman was a Jaina. Initially, he was a follower of Jainism. Later, he was converted to Shaivism by a Shaiva saint called Tirunavukkarasu. So Tirunavukkarasu, so you can see the idol or image of Mahendravarman I in one of the temples. Then we have Mahendravarman I, who was initially a Jaina. He was initially a Jain, later converted to Shaivism by Saint Tirunavukkarasu. Tirunavukkarasu converted himself to converted himself to Shaivism from Jainism. And as we all know, he was killed. Mahendravarman I was killed by Pulakeshin II in the Battle of Pulalur. Right? Okay. Then we come to Narasimhavarman I. Narasimhavarman I. So he was the greatest of the Pallavas. In the Battle of Suramara, Manimangala, Periyala, he defeated Pulakeshin II and killed him and took the titles Vatapi Konda and Mamalla, and he founded the city of Mamallapuram. You can see here on your screen, this is the city of Mamallapuram or Mahabalipuram, a beautiful place for a holiday, just 50 kilometers from Chennai, Mamallapuram, right? So that was the city founded by Narasimhavarman I. He also constructed the 7 rathas there, also called 7 pagodas. We'll discuss about them in detail. You can see on your screen, these are known as 7 pagodas or the rathas. This is called the rathas. They're named after the Pandava family. That is, the Dharmaraja or Yudhishthir, Bhima, Draupadi, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, and Draupadi. So they are called Pancha Pandava rathas. Actually called Pancha Pandava rathas. Pancha Pandava rathas. They are basically monolithic temples. Though they are named after the Pandava family, all these monolithic temples, they are monolithic temples. Though named after the Pandava family, they are dedicated to Lord Shiva. Dedicated to Lord Shiva, all of them. Totally, there are actually eight temples. So here 8 monolithic temples are there. Dharmaraja, but popularly called 7 pagodas. Dharmaraja, then Bhima, Bhimaratha, then Arjuna Ratha, Draupadi, then Nakula and Sahadeva Rathas, Nakula Sahadeva Rathas. Number 6 is Ganesha Ratha, Pidari, a local god called Pidari, and number 8, Valayan Kottai. Totally, there are 8 monolithic temples, but they are called popularly as 7 pagodas. They are called 7 pagodas. 7 pagodas, popularly called 7 pagodas. All these temples are dedicated to Shiva. They are dedicated to Lord Shiva. So they are carved from top to down. So what are the important rathas, various features, etc. We will discuss as part of art and architecture when I come to art and culture section. But as of now, just understand this: these 7 rathas or 7 pagodas belong to the period of Narasimhavarman I. He was the one who ordered the construction of this. Hyun visited his kingdom, and of course, he's supposed to have helped the Sri Lankan prince to come to power in Sri Lanka. He sent 2 naval expeditions to support a Sri Lankan prince called Manavarman to capture power in that island country. Right? Then we have Mahendravarman II, who was killed by Vikramaditya I. Pulakeshi's son Vikramaditya I killed him. Then Narasimhavarman II, known by various titles, Rajasimha, Agamapriya, Shankara Bhakta. Rajasimha was one of his titles. Agamapriya, who loved the Agama Shastras. Shankara Bhakta, that means he was a Shiva devotee, Shiva worshipper. Shankara Bhakta. So sent a diplomatic mission to China. Dravida set of temple building began during his period. So we have Dravida temples, which began to be constructed from the time of Narasimhavarman II. And Narasimhavarman II built 2 temples. Understand this? He built 2 temples. One is the shore temple. The shore temple, I'm coming to that. The shore temple at Mahabalipuram. On your screen, you can see this is the shore temple at Mamallapuram or Mahabalipuram. This is the first structural temple. Understand this? This is the first structural temple. So here, what do you mean by structural temples? Please understand. So Pallavas initially built temples inside caves. They're called mandapas. Pallavas began to construct cave temples. They are called mandapas. Then we have from cave temples the transition made to rathas. So, for example, we have just now seen the Pancha Pandava rathas. So, from cave temples, we have monolithic temples, which were dug out, or what you call carved out. And then we have freestanding structural temples. We will discuss that in detail. So, this is the first structural temple built in Dravida style. Built in the Dravida style. Right? This was built by Narasimhavarman II, or Rajasimha, as he's called. That was the title. So it was built in the reign of Narasimhavarman II, Rajasimha. This is on the banks of the Bay of Bengal, called Shore Temple. It's basically a Shiva temple dedicated to Shiva. So this is basically a Shiva temple on the banks of the Bay of Bengal. So therefore called Shore Temple. And of course, we have the Kailashanatha temple at Kanchipuram. The Kailashanatha temple again was built by Narasimhavarman II. This is again dedicated to Shiva. And this is called Chapel Royal. This was meant for the personal worship of Narasimhavarman II. It was not meant for the public. It was meant for the personal worship of Narasimhavarman II and his family. So Shiva is called Shiva Gangadharaya here. Okay. So then, of course, he established Vedic schools called Ghatikas. So these Ghatikas were schools, Vedic schools attached to temples. So he began that. Then he patronized these scholars. Dandin, who wrote Dasakumara Charita. This is on Kartikeya, Dasakumara Charita. And then Avanti Sundari Katasara. Avanti Sundari Katasara. These are the books written by Dandin. Right? Then we have Nandivarman II. Nandivarman II was a follower of Vaishnavism. I told you only two people were Vishnu worshippers. One was Simha Vishnu, and the second was Nandivarman II. Then he gave his daughter in marriage to Vikramaditya II. So that was the only example of restraint between these two dynasties. So when Vikramaditya II attacked the Pallavan kingdom and defeated Nandivarman II, Nandivarman II gave his daughter in marriage to him. Okay, and he also defeated the Western Ganga king, Sri Purusha. The Gangas of Talakadu, as they're called. They're called Western Gangas or Gangas of Talakad. Gangas of Talakad. So Talakad is a place near Mysore, Talakad or Talakadu as it is called. So he defeated the Western Ganga king or the Gangas of Talakad king, Sri Purusha. Then Nandivarman II built a Vaikunta Perumal temple at Kanchipuram. Vaikunta Perumal temple, this is the Vaikunta Perumal temple at Kanchipuram. And he patronized the poet Bharavi, who wrote Kirata Arjuniya. So Nandivarman II was the one who patronized Bharavi, who wrote Kirata Arjuniyam. So Kirata Arjuniya, I told you the story of Arjuna and Shiva in the form of a hunter, Kirata Arjuniya. So this is again written in Sanskrit language, and again, contemporary with the Gupta rule, Guptas, Bharavi who writes Kirata Arjuniyam. Then Aparajita Pallava was the last Pallava king who was killed by Aditya Chola, who founded the Chola kingdom. So Chola kingdom was founded by Aditya Chola. So they were acting as, or for functioning as feudatories, vassals under the Pallavas. So Aditya Chola killed Aparajita Pallava and founded the Chola dynasty. So, however, the Pallavas continued to exist till the end of the 13th century AD, right? So, this is the Vaikunta Perumal temple at Kanchipuram, built by Nandivarman II. Bharavi is Kirata Arjuniya, at the end of which Shiva grants Arjuna the Pashupata Astra. So, what is the importance of the Pallava rule? They patronized Sanskrit literature. I told you that was their official language. We have, say, a Tamil literature flourishing under them. So Tamil literature flourished under the Pallavas. We have Perundevanar, who wrote the Mahabharata in Tamil language. Perundevanar wrote Mahabharata in Tamil. We have the 63 Shaiva saints. They're called Nayanars. Nayanars are 63 Shaiva saints. Shaiva saints. And these Nayanars composed devotional poems. They composed poems, devotional poems in praise of Shiva. Devotional poems in praise of Shiva. And that is called Tirumurai. That is called Tirumurai, also called Dravida Veda. Also called Dravida Veda. And even now in the Shiva temples of Tamil Nadu, the poems composed by these 63 Nayanars are sung in the Shiva temples of Tamil Nadu. It's in Tamil language. Similarly, we have 12 Alvars. Alvars were Vaishnava saints. They worship Vishnu, Vaishnava saints. And these 12 Alvars composed devotional poems in praise of Vishnu called Prabandhas. Prabandhas. Prabandhas are devotional poems. Devotional poems in praise of Vishnu. So Prabandhas, it's called Nalayira Divya Prabandham. Nalayira Divya Prabandham. In Tamil language, it is called Nalayira Divya Prabandham. And even now in the Vaishnava, in the Vishnu temples of Tamil Nadu, these Prabandhas are sung in praise of Vishnu. So they contributed towards the enrichment of Tamil language and literature, the Pallavas. Then they also developed the Dravida style of temple architecture. I told you, initial temples were found in caves. They also built cave temples as well as structural temples, freestanding structural temples. We'll discuss about Pallavan architecture when I do art and architecture in as part of art and culture topics. Then we have the best example of Pallavan sculpture. This is Arjuna's penance, or the descent of the Ganges at Mahabalipuram. Has anybody been to Mahabalipuram here? Nayanmars. The Nayankaras are different. Anybody has been to Mahabalipuram? Nobody? Okay. So here, when you get a chance, you do visit Mahabalipuram. Nice place to go to. Angeline has visited. So this is on your screen. You can see a sculpture. This is called Arjuna's penance or descent of the Ganga at Mahabalipuram. So here, it is also called descent of the Ganga. Actually, Ganga, according to mythology, was brought to the earth by Bhagirath, isn't it? Bhagirath is supposed to have worshipped Shiva, and then the Ganga came down to the earth. So here you can see here on your screen, this is supposed, you can see here on your screen, briefly I'll explain. You see this? I'm putting a circle. You see this is Arjuna. Some say this is Bhagirath doing penance. Okay, he's standing on one leg. Do you see that? This is in Mahabalipuram, Roshan. Yeah, so that is Arjuna or Bhagirath doing penance, standing on one leg. And Shiva has appeared before him. You can see here, Shiva has appeared before him. Right? And Shiva is giving darshan. Now, if you go a little down, if you don't go a little down below, near the elephant, you come down near the elephant, you can see here, a cat is mimicking Arjuna. You see this? There's a cat here. A cat is mimicking Arjuna, standing on one leg. And looking at the cat, a mouse has come nearby. You see this? This is the mouse. This mouse has come nearby, mistaking the cat to be a saint. So the sculptor is telling, don't be fooled by appearances. This is actually a trick on the part of the cat to catch the mice and eat it, or mouse and eat it. Then you see here on your screen, I'll keep rubbing and highlighting it so that you can see it. This is Ganga coming down the earth. You can see here Ganga is coming down from heavens. So Ganga has come down. Then this is the river life. Elephants have come along with their calves. You can see the elephant calves here, beautifully carved. So they have come to drink water, the elephants. Then this is the family. You can see here there is a lion. I don't know how clear it is on your screen, but this is a lion. So you see a lion here, you see a lion here, and then you also see deer. You see deer here. You can see deer are here. So here the sculptor is trying to say that if the environment is apt, if the environment is correct, then a tiger and a lion, sorry, a deer and a lion can coexist very nicely. Environment is very important, right? And then we have here a small temple of Vishnu. So they claim descent. The Pallavas claim descent from Vishnu. So there's a temple of Vishnu here, and some of the sculptors here, you can see here, some of the sculptures have lost their head. You see, there's a head missing. Head is missing here. Another head is missing here, and another head is missing here. You might wonder who, cut off the heads. It was Vikramaditya the First, Pulakeshi's son, who took revenge against the Pallavas. So this is supposed to be the head of Mahendravarman the First. This is the head of Narasimhavarman the First, and this is the head of Mahendravarman the Second. So all the heads of these rulers were cut off by Vikramaditya the First as a revenge. Then we have here, you can see this is a river life. You have monkeys which have come near the river to drink water. You have yakshas and yakshanis. Okay, they are all apsaras are also there. Different animals are depicted here. This is the largest bas relief in the world. Whatever you see here, it's about at least 25 to 30 feet in length. This sculpture. This is in Mahabalipuram, and this is the largest bas relief in the world. This is the largest bas relief. What is the meaning of bas relief? Largest bas relief in the world. Now, let me explain to you very simply what is, in simple language, what is bas relief. You take a coin, let's say a 2 rupee coin, 1 rupee coin, or 5 rupee coin. Let's take a 5 rupee coin or a 2 rupee coin. You have the digit 2 mentioned on that, isn't it? Or a 5 mentioned on that. That 2 or 5 digit is slightly jutting out from the background, isn't it? You can see it's slightly jutting out from the background. That's called bas. That is the meaning of bas relief. You see here, all these sculptures are slightly jutting out from the background. Did you understand? So this is an imagination. Pari, there's no connection here, but this is the sculpture called Arjuna's Penance or Descent of the Ganga. Okay, this is the imagination of the sculptor. Yeah, slightly jutting out. Jutting out is peeping out. Slightly peeping out. That's the meaning of that. So this is supposed to be the best example of Pallavan sculpture, Arjuna's Penance or the Descent of the Ganga, considered to be the largest bas relief in the world. Mahabalipuram is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And I told you, Pallavas were responsible for spreading Indian culture to Southeast Asia. We have the Pallavan type of shikara found in Java, Cambodia, and Annam. Even now, Pallavan type of shikara is found there in Java, Cambodia, and Annam. Okay. Now let us look at the questions here on your screen. Let us look at the questions. Hyun Sang, try to answer the questions here. So, we have discussed the important Pallavan kings. Okay. So, Shivaskandavarma was one of the kings of the early Pallava line. Shivaskandavarma. Now, Hyun Sang, on your screen, a Buddhist pilgrim from China visited the kingdoms of which of the following rulers? Harshavardhana, that is right. Then Narasimhavarman the first, that is right. Mahendravarman the first, Pulakeshin the second. So that is the answer. 1, 2, and 4. So he visited the kingdoms of 1, 2, and 4. And which of the following places correctly matched? Title and Pallavan king. Vatapikonda. Who took the title of Vatapikonda? I'll write the correct answer here. Vatapikonda. Narasimhavarman the first. Narasimhavarman the first took the title of Vatapikonda. But what is that? What is the match the following here? Mahendravarman the first. That is wrong. Rajasimha. Rajasimha was one of the titles of Narasimhavarman the second. That is correct. So this is correct. This is the answer. Mahabali. Who took the title of Mahabali? Again, Narasimhavarman the first. Mahabalipuram. Narasimhavarman the first. He is also called Mahabali. Then, Chitrakarapuli. Chitrakarapuli is the title of Mahendra Varman the First. Mahendra Varman the First. Not Narasimha Varman the First, right? So I have given the correct answers here. Then who of the following kings is eulogized, that is praised, in the Aihole inscription as Sakala Uttara Padishwara? Who is praised in the Aihole inscription as Sakala Uttara Padishwara? It is Harshavardhana. Harsha is called Sakala Uttara Padishwara. Isn't it? Right. Then we move on. Who among the following Pallavan kings embraced Vaishnavism? And only two embraced Vaishnavism. One was Nandivarman II and the other was Simha Vishnu. So the answer is 3 and 4. 3 and 4. So they were the ones who embraced Vaishnavism, Nandivarman II and Simha Vishnu, not Narasimhavarman II. Then, which of the following Badami kings repulsed the attack of the Arabs of Sindh on South Gujarat? It was Vikramaditya II. So during his period, we have Avani Janashraya Pulakeshi. Avani Jashraya Pulakeshi. Avani Jashraya Pulakeshi, who was the feudatory of the Chalukyas, ruling South Gujarat. He was the one who repulsed the attack of the Arabs of Sindh, and the king at that point in time was Vikramaditya II. Okay? Right. That was Vikramaditya II. Then, arrange the following Chinese visitors to India in the correct chronological sequence. So, who comes first? Fahian. Fahian came first. You all know. Then Hyun came second. Hyun. Then Wang Yuanse came third, and Ipsing came fourth. So that is the order in which they came. The answer is this: D214. 3214. Which one of the following inscriptions refers to the invasion of the Huns during the reign of Skandagupta? So it is Bitari inscription. This should have been a Gupta period question, but anyway, I have put it here by mistake. Then Emperor Harsha's southward march was stopped on the Narmada River by, this is a 2003 question. What an easy question. Pulakeshi II. So Pulakeshi II was the one who stopped Harsha's southward march on the Narmada River. Then 2013 question. The Chinese traveler Yuan Chong, that is Yun Sang, who visited India, recorded the general conditions and culture of India at that time. In this context, which of the following statements are correct? The roads and river routes were completely immune from robbery. No. See, Hyun Sang himself was robbed twice. So we have foreign travelers. One section is there in Nitin Singhania's book. I'll give you some, when we discuss art and culture, we will briefly talk about these travelers and various information they give us. So Hyun Sang himself was robbed twice. Therefore, we cannot say that roads and river routes were completely immune from robbery. So Hyun Sang never said that. He was robbed twice. Therefore, that first statement is wrong. As regards punishment for offences, ordeals by fire, water, poison were the instruments for determining the innocence or guilt of a person. That is true. That's called divine test or trial by ordeal. So trial by ordeal was there, according to Hyun Sang, or what is called divine test. Divine test. Then the tradesmen had to pay duties at ferries and barrier stations. That is also correct. Select the correct answer. So minus the first statement, 2 and 3 are correct. So 2 and 3 are correct. That's the answer. B is the answer. Then 2021 question. From the decline of Guptas until the rise of Harshavardhana in the early 7th century, which of the following kingdoms were holding power in northern India? So the Guptas of Magadha, that is correct. Then not the Paramaras. The Paramaras came much later, not between the decline of the Guptas and the coming of Harsha. They were not there. Paramaras were ruling from 11th century onwards. Pushyabudhis of Taneshwar is right. Maukaris of Kanauj. Yadavas of Devagiri also come much later. Maitrakas of Vallavi. That is correct. So the answer is 1, 3, 4, and 6. D is the answer. Okay, 1, 3, 4, and 6. And this is the fifth Chinese traveler from China. Fifth Chinese traveler, right? He came when Modi, before Doklam happened, he came. This Jinping, or whoever he is, president of China, and then they, before Doklam, and then he shook hands with the prime minister, and later the Chinese tried to, boss over us. But then we gave them a bloody nose at Doklam later. Okay, fine. Did you understand? So this is about the end of ancient India. This is the end of ancient India. I will not give you the overview now because I require more time for overview. We will take a break now. 8:30 we meet. 8:30 we meet for art and culture webinar. Okay. What is the joke of the month, Bhimre? Okay. So 8 o'clock we meet for art and culture webinar. So till then, you finish your lunch, dinner rather. You finish your dinner and then come back. 8:30 we meet. There are a few topics to discuss. No, I have not seen that. Bharavi's Kirata Arjunia, in painting it has been depicted. For example, in the Vijayanagar, in the Lepaksha temple, in the painting it is depicted. No. Without an overview, I cannot do that. So here we have a webinar. Okay, we have a webinar at 8:30. So we will go because I'll require more time for art and culture. I'll require more time for overview. Okay, so okay, fine. 8:30 to 10:30, but I won't take till 10:30. It's not required. It's some very simple topics are there in the webinar. So whatever I could gather in the last few weeks. So I had to postpone the webinar because I did not find topics relevant from the exam point of view. But then I have shortlisted a few topics. We will discuss that in the webinar. For overview of medieval India, I'll require more time. So therefore, there's no point in starting with the overview now. So we will end the class now and meet at 8:30. Okay, we'll meet at 8:30. I told you, Gurcharan, I have finished with ancient India. We'll come back and start how to manage time. Yeah, so ancient India, you see, read one. You can make the PPTs as the base and read one textbook, preferably R.S. Sharma. You read, okay, and then maybe selectively you can read some chapters from Poonam Dalal Dahiya, and then keep updating your current affairs. Last 1.5 years current affairs, you see that you are updated, and don't make any silly mistakes in the exam. So when you're reading a textbook, you must have marked or highlighted there. Keep revise those highlighted portions or underlined portions, and then hope for the best. That's what I can say. And whenever the tests are given by Byju's, you keep attending those tests. So when is the exam? June 16th. June 16th is the exam, or June? Yeah, June 16th. So you have, today is what? Today is May 2nd. So you have a lot of time, nothing to worry. You have plenty of time. So traditional areas, you thoroughly finish revising. I told you, I think I've given you a plan. Maybe divide, if there are, how many days for the exam? 45 days for the exam? 44 days. Okay. So let us take 8 subjects, 8 5s are 40. You give 5 days per subject. Try to finish each subject in 5 days. If you can finish it in lesser time, great. But then reading with understanding, whatever you revised, underline, whatever you underlined, etc. You keep looking at it chapter wise. You cannot do again a fresh reading. I know that. Whatever you underlined, you read that. That is your revision. Okay, that's what you do, and that should be sufficient. Whatever effort you put in the last few months, that is going to count. But then again, this is very, very important. last few weeks are very, very important. Be very positive and just believe that whatever you're going to read is going to come in the exam. You go with that mindset. Don't fear the unknown. Don't fear the unknown because nobody has, people who have not written the exam at all. So obviously there'll be a lot of pressure or tension, but don't take tension. Take it as any other exam, and just tell yourself, convince yourself that whatever you have read, only from there questions are going to be asked by the UPSC. Go with that mindset. CSAT, I'll not be able to, I will guide you because CSAT, I'll not be able to guide you. But then GS1, etc., all those things, you just revise. Keep revising whatever you have studied, and keep taking tests. At least half an hour every day, half an hour do tests. One day geography, one day history, or sections of history. One day ancient, one day medieval, one day modern, one day art and culture. Another day geography test. Okay, like that. Every half an hour, 1 hour in a day, you keep answering questions. Don't worry about the marks you're getting. Don't worry about that part. Just try to answer questions, or sometimes even the question banks acts as the primary source of information, so you can mark the answers even earlier only, and then keep looking at the answers, looking at the question and looking at the answer. That can also be one form of revision. So they will not ask such a question, Gunjan. What are the highlights of ancient India? I mean, that is a very open-ended question. We have polity, society, economy, religion. So you have to, they will not ask such a question. Don't worry. So you just revise that way, all right? 5 days, 4 days you give per subject. Try to finish as much as possible. But then just remember that whenever you're getting bored with a subject, you change the subject. If you're getting bored, then you change the subject. Okay, change of place is one thing. Go to library and sit. If you're 10 step at home, alone sitting, you a lot of negative thoughts can come. So you go to library, sit there whole day, morning till evening. Okay, take your books, take your food along with you. Avoid the afternoon sun. We are having heat waves in many parts of India. So 11 to 4, you avoid the hot sun. Don't roam around in the sun. So you conserve your energy. Maybe take a nap in the afternoon, doesn't matter. So early morning, get up early in the morning, at least till about 10, 11 o'clock, try to read at least 4 to 5 hours. Okay, then again in the evening, you have another 4, 5 hours. And in the afternoon, go slow. You can do current affairs, update your current affairs, etc. Take tests in the afternoon. Take a nap, doesn't matter at all. Half an hour, 40 minutes, 1 hour nap is very good. It's a power nap. So, so you try to manage that way. Abhishek, just revise. That is the main thing. Revise. Look at the previous year question papers. I have added questions in the after end of every chapter. So keep looking at that, and of course revise. Just keep revising. That should be enough. Okay, you carry on. We'll meet at 8:30. We have another half an hour to go for the webinar. We'll meet at 8:30. Okay, I'm logging out. We'll meet at 8:30.